Hello, welcome back to Chapter Collective. My guest today is Jeff Nabors, also known as Arcadence, RKNDC. You can find him at Twitter. He is a freelance writer and cool dude. He does other things too, but that's kind of like one of his things. We talk about a fair share of things. I think the 2 hours or whatever that we recorded, a few of them being, how he ended up being a freelance writer. Living away from your home state, he moved to New York, and he is a Florida native, and that just kind of is cool. Not everybody does that. Also talked about Thundercat and some Mac Miller, among other music things, and a couple other in-betweeners, get into Reddit a little bit and stuff. He's a pretty cool dude. I will speak no more and let him introduce himself. Enjoy. Hello again, Internet. Cayce here, and today we have Jeff Nabors. Jeff, go ahead and introduce yourself in whatever way, shape, form, or fashion is fitting to you.
I don't know if there's really a good way to explain myself. I do a lot of things on the internet, off the internet in general. I run a podcast that me and Cayce are both on called Reroll Expectations, where I play. Plug. Always gotta plug it. Always gotta plug it.
No, there's plenty of room for plug. I like to meme when it's like, oh, we're straight to the cheese. Yeah, this is where
dog. I'm the dungeon master. I do a lot of D&D stuff for that. Obviously, I also run another podcast that hasn't come out yet, where I do other things. I'm a freelance writer. I write things from time to time based on video games, current events, pop culture, whatever floats my boat at the time. I stream on Twitch. I do a lot of things. Play the board games. Yeah, that's me.
You did an excellent intro, man. Don't overthink it.
I found out a long time ago that they call a lot of celebrities multi-hyphenates because they can do a lot of things with very little expertise, and I want to be that person. I want to have the most hyphenates in my eventual Wikipedia article. That's my goal.
A different way of saying a jack of all trades. Or when you're that famous, like Justin Bieber could literally just paint, and they would be like, whoa, this
he's an artist
painting.
Yeah,
and it would just be modern art. Like, it doesn't matter because he's already hit that level of I actually, in a book I was just listening to, the Fast Lane to I forget what it Fast Lane to Wealth, or I don't know, but the guy talks about how creating wealth is scalable by impact and intensity. So it's like you could sell 10,000 toothbrushes and that's high impact, or sorry, I'm messing it up, but basically it's volume versus impact. So it's like you can sell a ton of something and it means nothing, or you can make one painting and it's worth 10 million. And so like they already bring impact to like everything that they do. So that's what did you call it?
Multi-hyphenate.
Never heard of that.
I first heard about it when I was looking up Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, because I call him a multi-hyphenate because he's an actor, a comedian, a writer, a musician, a rapper, and I was like, he just does a lot of things. I want to do a lot of things too. I've done a lot of things. Yeah, but
they're also good at it too. Some people are just freaks.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. A lot of them are really good at it, but like I'm okay at some of the things I do. I've done some cool things in the past. I want all those cool titles.
I think we all do. We just don't all get the exposure that some people do. That's all. And who's another person that comes to mind is dude who did that song with Kanye West. It's damn.
I don't listen to Kanye West. I don't know.
Everybody knows it. She says she wants some Marvin Gaye, some Luca Van Jones. I can't even think of what the song is.
No idea what you're talking about.
Oh man, it's gonna kill me. It's not Wesley Snipes. It'll come to me. I'm gonna get made fun of, but it's all right. So I have a couple questions that actually come out, and you might not actually answer them correctly the first time, but because they're open-ended questions. But
is it a pop quiz?
No. I just have questions that are very. You'll see. You'll. Most people seem to like it. So when I answer them, you answer them directly or indirectly, and then I'll answer it, and then you'll be like, okay, and I will allow you to reframe your question. So this will be a trend that probably I'm gonna have to do for a long time until somebody actually watches my show before I give this, because there's four questions basically that are set, and they're always going to be there. And then from there, it's more intrinsically like stuff I have to ask you. So the first question is, what's in your coffee this morning?
I don't drink coffee, so nothing.
Nothing. Not even a single source of caffeine.
No. Sometimes I'll have hot tea, but like my general morning routine is wake up, get ready for work, go to work, so I don't have time to like make hot tea or things like that.
Okay, that's fine. I think I actually respect people that don't drink caffeine or at least abuse it. I think it's one of those drugs that like people like are just so accustomed to. Like you could just take caffeine and people don't realize how like radically impacting it is. Of course, the on the last episode, Veffy does not consume caffeine because his just body can't process it. Whereas there's other
Mm.
people that are like one pot before they even make it out the door kind of people. So so what's in my coffee this morning? Nothing. I always drink my coffee black if I have coffee because I don't always drink coffee. But what's actually in my coffee this morning is a long conversation I had over breakfast with my mom about Moderna. Actually took the Pfizer vaccine, but it's also about the
Mm.
Moderna and a lot of politics revolving around just the vaccination in general and how people are like deciding whether or not they want to take the vaccine. And so I'm seeing that 22% of people that take Moderna's vaccine are getting like adverse reactions to it. So I got to
It's
get
a
a little
pretty
bit more
big
information
number.
on it, but it's been like really bad because the scientist that was covering it was kind of bad lipping about how America is like politicizing, a lot of this issue. And on top of that, 22% has come out, and he posted peer reviewed research about a lot of the isotopes in the Moderna vaccine that are unstable. So that's where people are getting bad reactions, perhaps. I can't
Hmm.
cite it perfectly, but I was like, okay. And I was telling my mom about that. But she got the Pfizer one, and I haven't heard anything bad about that. But I'm not like glued to every study about the vaccines that come out. I am, to be honest, not even completely concerned because I think mine and your age demographic don't really have a whole lot to worry about with the situation. For the most part, I don't want to say there's not outliers, but if there's a 98% chance that you're going to survive the flu, there's a 98% chance this one won't kill us either. So,
Yeah, I think it's still better
um,
to be safe about it, though. You know what I mean?
oh, and every morning the price of Bitcoin is always in my coffee. So, what's in your coffee this morning?
Fuck. um, I don't know. Like my mornings are usually, like I said, I just like wake up, I get ready for work, I go to work on my
Yeah.
which is 5 days out of the week. On the 2 days where I'm not going to my 9 to 5 job, I just kind of wake up and just like absorb whatever happened over the past 6 hours when I was asleep on the internet, and then just kind of get into whatever thing I'm working on at the time.
Okay.
I work a lot. Like I said, I
Yeah,
do
you
a lot
do.
of things on the internet, so I'm always busy doing something.
So what
So
did you miss the last 6 hours on the internet this
Larry
morning?
King died. I mean,
Okay,
like
so that's in your coffee this morning.
sure. I never really got
Did he
super into
really
Larry
though?
King. He was definitely before my time. But I woke up and I was like, huh, Larry King done croaked. That's unfortunate.
Damn, I actually didn't hear that. So I didn't look
Yeah,
up a lot of news
he
this
was he was
morning. I was more,
87.
but did he die of COVID?
Yes.
Dies at 87. Breezy interviewer, famous. Yeah, I was never a watcher. I think our generation kind of wasn't inspired by all that. Like we grew up with YouTube, so
Hmm.
like we were already getting away from TV. Like when we were starting to become fully exposed to technology. So yeah, I never watched
Yeah, wasn't really my kind of thing.
any of that other stuff. Pretty much
No.
Larry King. Yeah, nothing important.
Yeah, like I said, I woke up because Saturdays were kind of chill for me. Like, woke up, browsing it for a while, watched some
Yeah.
YouTube for a bit. Then you reached out, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, I guess I'll do something."
That's fair. I
That's really
mean,
about
it's a
it.
perfectly fine morning to me. Perfectly fine morning to me. Everybody's gonna have a different one. Some people are like straight to the paper, or they're straight to their writing or whatever. So everybody's got something different in their cup every day. So you are doing a lot of things, and you mentioned that. So I know that you're a writer, and so I've never actually had. I mean, you consider yourself a writer, right?
Yeah, I say that
Professional or not, but like it's something that you devote a lot of time to, and you do
for sure.
some gigs writing it. So I never actually had the luxury of talking to somebody who classifies himself as a writer. Now that's interesting to me because like writing is such a like normal thing, but like it's also not. And I think it depends on like what you do for a living. I just like reading and writing are such a normal like human trait, but people don't actively write even like on a daily basis. Like they
Hmm.
don't even actively like write down their feelings. And so like, how did you stumble into maintaining writing outside of education? Because that's like what most people see is I write papers or maybe write to my politicians and that's it.
For me, it really started when I was in grade school. Like, I used to write, short stories, things like that, dumb little things, and I never finished anything. That's always been my biggest crux. I never finish a piece of work that I'm working on. That isn't like an article or something like that. But sometime in, I think it was 2016, I was playing a lot of League of Legends, and I wrote a couple like analytical pieces about playing certain champions in League of Legends because that was what I was into at the time. And someone reached out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to put some of this kind of work on your website?" And I was like, "Sure, no problem. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool." Me being a naive, essentially a child in an adult body, was like, "Yeah, sure, no problem." And all that work is gone now because that website has now gone under, and I didn't ever think to archive my work.
Oops. Now, what
Yeah,
kind of analytics are you talking about for the champions? Like you would like Mobile stuff, where you would like write about their strategies and stuff,
yeah,
or
things like that of like why certain champions are good or why certain strategies are working right now, things like that.
why did you
Which
decide to do that?
it was just something that every once in a while I'll get a bug where like I'll have to like express my thoughts on something to that sort of degree. And I just
Okay.
sat down and just put it on Reddit and I was like, I did this. Here's this thing I wrote about why this champion is good in the jungle. That's what I did.
Okay, and this
And
was Reddit is where it started.
yeah, Reddit for sure. That's where I first started publishing my work. And then it just kind of like spiraled from then on because after I got out of playing League of Legends, I started playing Hearthstone back when that was still in its beta phase. And once again, I wrote an article about a couple articles. I think I wrote one about how to transfer your skills from playing Magic the Gathering, which is a huge card game that I've been playing for almost half my life, and taking those skills and moving them into Hearthstone, which is a still a card game, but the
Different
mechanics are
fundamentally.
very much different
Mm-hmm.
to that. So it was there to just portray the not portray, that's a horrible thing. It's just there to explain the differences and how you can sort of like ease yourself into the game coming from that other standpoint. And once again,
Interesting.
I got reached out by a bunch of people um, to do this kind of work on the website. And me being the idiot, I saw all these offers from actual websites who had like actual company backgrounds and are still around today. And I ignored them to work with some people whose website shut down after a few months and once again lost all the work that I did.
Now, but hindsight, why did you make those decisions? Did they seem more appealing? Like you
I
had to have
think
been
I
like, oh, I
think
want
that's
this
what
one.
it. I think it was more
Okay.
of like me hoping I would have more creative control over my work. Which honestly, when you're only writing things on Reddit, having creative control, I don't think is a huge problem
Sure.
because
Yeah.
getting your voice out there is more important overall.
But if you look at these big hubs, having creative control is a real thing because censoring is
Sure.
a brutish word to say, but they definitely have a code of ethics you got to follow.
Yeah.
Or,
No.
hey, this
Absolutely.
big, or hey, don't get too off topic, or hey, and I know what you're talking about. So I'm not a big writer, but I could see how that could be an issue.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it was as big an issue that I made it out to be in my own head,
You made it
and
a
now
bigger
it's
whale
been
than it
kicking me in
was.
the ass. Yeah, and now it's been kicking me in the ass because like I'll go and try to show my portfolio, and I'll be like, oh, well, I have no work from 2016 to 2019 because I'm an idiot and didn't never ever archived anything.
Well, I guess that's part of like being in your infancy stage of anything. You kind of just make a hell of a lot of mistakes. Like when you
Yeah,
first
for
start
sure.
streaming, you like never talk to chat or you don't do anything to like get off of Twitch. And
Hmm.
so everybody's kind of subject to that unless you get a lot of, I don't know, writing's interesting because like I don't know, like when I can see how you'd make that mistake because immediately I saw in you some sort of internal self-driven reason to want to like do that, and it like okay, so like we're on to something. So it made me think of the difference between a lurker and a poster. Okay, so when you go on Reddit, are you a do you look for then and now? You can answer it whichever direction. Do you look for topics that you can actually participate in on more than just a LOL funny meme, blah blah blah, or do you actually like put stuff in and respond to threads? Or I guess it'd be a triangle. Are you a lurker? Are you like a replier, or are you a poster? In that little
I'm
triangle.
very much a lurker. I don't post super frequently on Reddit anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put in things here and there of like, oh, hey, I found this tool works for me to do X, Y, Z. Like, I'll lurk on the podcasting subreddit, and I'll be like, oh, this is how my podcast group records things, and I use this software or X, Y, Z. But I don't generally post a whole lot on Reddit
Now try to
anymore.
put a frequency basis on it. How often are you commenting
Oh,
and or posting?
maybe once every 2 weeks or so. I'll
Okay, okay.
browse through Reddit all the time, and I'll read it to just like get information, get news,
Yes.
see a
So
different
you are
side of
definitely a
things.
sponge and not a bucket. Okay. So,
Yeah.
but when you were talking about like just wanting to like put your ideas about League of Legends out there, like that isn't something that's innately in everybody, or at least there's what's the drive to do it. So, like if me and you picked up a new game tomorrow, I'll throw a spitball one, Risk of Rain 3. There's going to be an open book, like, oh, what's meta in Risk of Rain 3? And then
Sure.
there's a difference between like me and you playing it as friends on Steam, being like, yeah, dude, I was playing with crit with this person and it seems pretty good. And then like go cool down on this person and like we'll converse about it, but we won't actively, or at least I won't actively go on Reddit and be like, hey guys, try doing bleed on this really weird slow attack speed guy, because it actually works really well. And it seems like you are that kind of person. Like you were like you wanted to be open about these concepts, and like I just don't have that desire. Like I don't care.
Hmm.
I don't have any need to like feed society.
Well, I think I've progressed past doing just, hey, here's this reason why this thing is good, and now it's gone more into like, is this game worth playing, or why do I play this game in the first place? What
Reviews.
sometimes sort of reviewish. I like to think of it more as like a love letter. There is a YouTuber who I
I
respect
read
his
your
work a lot.
Bioshock love letter. That was a
Yeah,
good one.
which is
That
still
was a good one.
unpublished because I'm an idiot and haven't
Bro, it's
sat down to
really
finish it.
good. I
I
mean, you
know.
have, it's not like a meta or current topic though, so you could like, take as much time as you need.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was like, let's talk about Cyberpunk because right now it's trending, you only have so much time.
There is a YouTuber who makes video essays, and I absolutely adore his work. His name is Captain Christian with the two Ks. Um,
Okay.
and he describes his work as a visual love letter. And I've kind of taken that same idea and adopted it, where I just want to write love letters or passion pieces about why I enjoy the things I enjoy, whether
Okay.
it's Bioshock and how much Bioshock has impacted me as a gamer and as a person, or playing No Man's Sky and telling you like, hey, this game had a really rocky start, and now it's 3 years later. Is it worth playing 3 years later? Why is it worth playing 3 years later?
Yeah.
Or things like that. That's the kind of thing that I have sort of moved my writing to. It was not me getting paid to write fluff pieces because I need
Well,
money
you
to do things.
definitely have to do the things that you want to do if you're not getting paid. That's pretty general. The stuff you're
Hmm.
passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. Like I spend more time writing things I want to write than things I don't want to write, especially now that I'm currently devoid of clients for freelance work. So I'm just kind of just chilling and
Yeah,
having
you
a good
just
time.
soaking up the free time basically.
Free time is a loose term, but yeah.
Okay, well, you're constantly filling the time that you would have otherwise been using on gigging and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. I can't wrap my head around the writers thing. Like you always see like, journalists and writers for like the New York Times or something. And like I've always wondered what gets people into that. Is it like, oh well, I just stumbled into something that I realize I'm good at and don't care about it? Or like for example, that I don't know, I think I make a bigger deal out of the fact that you wanted to go on. Like there's the person that feels inspired for whatever reason to like go on MOBA Fire, which is a League of Legends based website that just explains builds, and anybody can make one. It's like basically like a forum, and then you
Yeah.
can put your item builds and all that stuff, and then people that like really are passionate about playing these characters will go on there and show you matchups, strategies, and it's like there's people that take the time to do that with really no there's really no return. They don't make money. They might potentially get exposure if they're a streamer or something, but like they do that. Whereas I'm like, man, like I've played a hell of a lot of RS games and I have no interest in writing anything about it or even going on Reddit. Like I'll follow a Reddit page, but I'll comment like, yeah, I was doing AP build a lot for 2018. But no, that interests me. So you got in definitely because you enjoy it, and then you're also just kind of translating it into something that can make money.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's my end game goal to only make money out of it. It's still something that I want to do that just like I said, I want to express my love and adoration or enjoyment of the things I want to write about, whether it's
Sure.
video games or world building or a movie that I really enjoy, things like that.
Hmm.
If it makes money, it makes money.
Okay.
I'm working on enough things as it is to make money, where I'd like to do this for fun and come back to it later and monetize it if I can. But it's not the forefront of my writing is to make money.
Gotcha.
If I
So
want
it's
to do
more
that,
passionate driven.
if I wanted to make money from my writing, I would go write smut,
What is smut?
adult erotica.
Oh, okay. I thought that's what it was, but
Yep,
interesting. So back to that triangle, real quick to close between poster, lurker, and commenter. Which one would you say you lean towards the most? Definitely lurker.
for sure, lurker. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Because there's definitely some classes of people that are like, yeah, I just like to stir stuff up on posts, or they literally sift through new on Reddit because they want to like have top comments or something. And then there's people that do the exact same thing. Now, I'm not completely shy of posting on Reddit, but it's generally like super lazy stuff, like perfect fit or something on like I'll find something, take a picture, and I think it fits perfectly, and just silly stuff like that I'll post. But like
mm,
they're really lazy titles and they never get a lot of traction. So whatever, I don't care.
yeah. I'm looking at my Reddit account right now. I posted 5 days ago, and then I posted a week before that, and then a couple posts in that same week, I guess, in the same thread. I guess I posted a thread about something. Then two
So you
weeks
got a
ago,
streak.
then 3 weeks ago,
Okay.
and
So you do
then
post
a
though.
month. Yeah, I guess about once a week.
Okay,
That's what it
that's
looks
you. You're
like.
probably like somewhere
Oh,
in the
never
middle
mind.
then.
I went from a month to 2 months.
While we're entertaining this, let's see. 2 months ago, 4 months ago, 4 months ago, 10 months ago, 1 year ago, and then like after 1 year, it's like it doesn't give you. It doesn't say 12 months,
Yeah,
14 months, but yeah, not much at all. It even
not very
comments
often.
pretty small.
That
15
that that
days,
that was
1 month,
comments
one
and
month.
posts. For
Oh,
me, that was
okay, okay.
like I never post anything. A lot of it's just reading, absorbing, disagreeing with it, and moving on.
Both certified lurkers in this chat. So
Absolutely.
but interesting enough, so the writing part, you kind of like expressing how you feel about things. I actually do that too. It could be the internal need for like people as an individual to like be heard, and I think I do kind of like that. But I do it in video form. Like I like to talk about
Hmm.
like what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling, but I don't. Maybe I'm just lazy and I don't want to type it. Whereas I can just use my mouth. I don't know. Some people just maybe flub and can't do that open form conversation unless they put it down and like edit it and then it's like perfectly expressed. I don't know which one's easier to really communicate an idea or a concept, but I like vlogs and like a lot. Like I'd much rather watch somebody's vlog than their writings, and I don't know if there's a like if that's the general case.
Well, I think that everyone's different, obviously. Because for me, I also enjoy vlogs, but I'm also really picky when it comes to vlogs. I don't want to watch some dude talk about how cool his life is. I want to watch a vlog about someone who does neat things and why he does them, and things like that. So, like, the only vlogger I really watch is Casey Neistat, who has
Uh-huh.
a really big following, obviously. And he doesn't really do vlogs anymore, but his original vlog, sure, he's a cool white dude who lives in New York City and owns his own business. Sure, that's pretty cool. But also some of the his thought processes on how he got there from being a teenage dad who had to move to New York City to pay bills for his kid that he didn't get to see because they lived in a different state, and how he managed to turn his passion of recording things with his brother into like him being an actual director for big companies. I find that to be much more interesting than, yo, what's going on, guys? This is your boy over here. Today I went to McDonald's and I got this Big Mac, and then me and Charlene are gonna go blah blah blah. Like I don't find
Yeah,
those to be
that's definitely
interesting.
like the IRL crap. Like you actually want substance, and that I think a lot of people could
Yes.
probably vouch for that. Nobody really wants to see somebody showboating or oh hey we're vlogging on our yacht today. Tim just did a backflip after he shotgunned a Corona. Like that's like
Yeah.
not really appealing. But there are people that whatever want to like maybe it inspires some type of daydreaming when they watch that, and so then they just like imagine they're the one that just shotgunned a Corona and do a backflip, dude. Whatever like makes people tick. Like I get it. No, I can definitely vouch for that. So, um, another one I want to get to is so since he mentioned it in the beginning of the podcast that we host a D&D podcast. What were your origins on D&D and how you got into it? I think I briefly know, but let's just recover it because I think it'd be cool.
I never really had much of an experience playing D&D up until I was in high school. I think it was maybe junior year, where I was
What year
perusing
did
the
you graduate?
2010 because I'm old.
So that means it would have been
Like
oh
'08,
eight, oh
oh
eight.
'08, '07, somewhere around there.
Okay.
I was perusing the my high school library where we used to play Magic and whatnot because I'm a big nerd. I play card games,
That's okay.
and I remember coming across the monster manual for Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, and I was
Okay.
like, "What is this?" And
Hmm.
then I found they had all three books, all three core books that you need to play D&D.
In
And I
high
was
school
like,
too. That's
yeah,
interesting.
in my high school library in a little tiny town outside of Orlando. And I was like, what are these doing here? Can we have these? You can't have fun books inside a high school library. And
Right.
so I checked them out and I read them and I was like, this is actually kind of cool. And so I managed to convince some of my friends to play,
How
and we,
many?
I think it was maybe three of us, like three other friends, two of which are my best friends to this day.
So it was you and two other people.
Three other people. I was a DM,
Oh, okay.
um, as always, permanent DM, and I bought
The
an essentials kit off of the internet.
It's the
Um,
unforgiving job or whatever. No, somebody relate it to people that review speed runs and stuff. Thankless job. Being the DM is a thankless job. But it's cool
I
because
think I think it depends on your play group.
sure, but like I think it's always kind of like
There's
I actually
always
can't
more
comment on
work.
this.
There's more work being a DM than most people realize there is. That's my biggest
Yes,
thing.
unless you're one of those people who's really natural improvisation and on the fly decision making, which isn't a natural thing to anybody. Like that's something
Right.
that takes practice. So carry on. You were above amongst four people that all
Yeah.
got into it.
We bought some essential kits, which gave us a little Poly 7 dice set, which I still have some of those dice to it to this day because
Oh
they're all
yeah,
mismatched weird colors.
nice.
And we played. We played in our high school library. We had a bunch of weird looks. People thought we were weird. It was
Yeah,
fine. Really enjoyed it. We were terrible at playing the game. I didn't know how to interpret how rules work, so like
I
we
love
leveled up.
mismatched colors. I think variety is a spice of life. So this
Yeah,
was an
no, for
Amazon
sure.
set with I think it comes with the base sets of the
Hmm.
seven that you need or whatever, and then there are like five different colors so that you could give a bag to each person. And I was
Yeah,
like, no,
it's
I'm just
probably
gonna
what
put them all in this.
the pound of dice.
I don't know which one what it
I
was,
know they
but
sell those where it's just a pound of dice. It's like a bunch of different Poly 7 sets all put together. But
yeah,
this
it was
was
like
one
five or
Poly
six of
7
them.
set of all different colors, and they're all just like solid colors. So like the D20 is orange, the D6 is green,
You
the
remember
D4
that?
is.
Oh my goodness.
I know the D20 is orange. I still have like two of them for some reason, but like they're all different colors and they're not appealing colors, just colors.
Yo, those probably have some soul, man. I would still use them.
I think
They
I use
know
them
their
for.
selves, they're
Yeah.
OG.
Um,
Anyways,
but yeah, like I wasn't very good at DMing because it was my first time. The story was non-existent. I didn't know how experience works, so we leveled up way too quickly. We ended up having like level 15, 16 characters after like 6 or 7 sessions because who the fuck knows how experience works?
but it's your own game. That's the beauty of it. Except for
Yeah,
like
for
when every
sure.
every mob that they throw at you in your base information, you guys were just cutting them down in one cycle.
Yeah, basically, it was not. It was not a good time. I mean, it was a good time, but it wasn't a efficient time. And
Gotcha.
then I started to play at a local card shop and someone else's group, and got more into playing that.
Were you guys playing in the library too, or like at somebody's house?
At school, we played in the library. Once I started playing at a card shop, we played at the actual shop there because it was in a mall nearby where I lived.
Now
And
that's
then
interesting though. When do you like what point during the day are you playing in the library? Like after
it
school
was
or
during our lunch period. We would all get our
oh
lunch, and then because I would skip my lunch to take my lunch money to buy Magic cards because I'm a shitty person and a very terrible influence.
why is that? What do you mean terrible influence? Would they do that too or?
Huh? Some of them did. Some of them brought lunch, so it wasn't a big deal. But
Okay,
like
but I
for me,
mean,
I'd
you
rather
loved
save
magic
my.
cards more than crappy school food, so I don't know if you're really the person in the wrong here, or
I don't know. I think it was a terrible decision on my part, but it's fine. It's whatever.
you're alive.
Um, yeah, I'm still here to talk about it. Um,
They didn't have any
and
of those
then
good greasy cheese sticks or chicken bowl or
oh
nothing good.
they had a chicken bowl. It was on Thursdays. People would stampede our cafeteria
Every Thursday,
every Thursday.
chicken bowl was a huge deal in my high school, and like even the teachers were in on it, and it was not uncommon for people to get double orders, and like our lunches were like okay. And this was during the time when Michelle Obama had the executive order or whatever that pizza is classified as a vegetable
It's a
for
vegetable.
yeah, for school lunches. So like we had lots of pizza. Our sub bar was good too, but I digress. I keep splitting off this conversation. Keep going on about D&D.
Yeah, so I played on and off ever since high school. I've always been the DM for my friend group because they're all terrible DMs. Love them to death, but they can't prep to save their life. They can't improv to save their life, but they're fun to play with anyway. And then, yeah. And then at one point in time, I wanted to start a D&D podcast, and I did.
Yeah. So it was just 3.5.
I started with 3.5, played that for a while. I did one single session of 4th edition and hated it, and never played it again.
Okay. Why'd you hate it?
Um, it was just easy. Like one of the biggest things about why people don't enjoy 4th edition is because every class can heal themselves. Combat doesn't seem intense enough, and everything got super rudimentary. At
Hmm.
least from what I remember. So I really did enjoy playing 4th edition. And then I
So
played
the
5th edition once or twice, and I was like, all right, cool, this slaps. I like it. It's not as complex as playing 3.5, but not dumbed down like 4th edition.
okay, yeah. So I don't know. I've heard a lot of people that talk about 3.5 as like 3.5 was like
The golden
um
years.
yeah, but it probably was for a lot of people like where they got started, like so
For
for
sure.
example, like Halo 3 is for most people like golden years, but so is Halo 2, like a lot of the pros say Halo 2 was the golden year because
Hmm.
that catapulted them, whereas like Halo 3 was the golden years for casual players and vice versa. I just had this conversation with Veffy that did you play the Gears series?
I've played Gears 3, and I think I might play Gears 2 at some point.
So what's interesting about that is I've played them all up until I think I played four. So it'd be
Hmm.
one, two, three, Judgment, and then four. And I didn't play competitive until the second one, and then I got real serious about competitive in the third one. And Veffy was a YouTube content creator for League of Legends and Gears, and so one was like the catapult, like that was like where it started, like that's the golden, you know what I mean? Or like three is like the really good sequel, but he's playing five somewhat, and he like knows YouTubers that like recognize him, but they're like golden year like Mecca is like the fourth game, which is like
Hmm.
not as good as the older ones, and they like have never played the first three. And like that concept is like so interesting to me because everybody just starts somewhere and it depends on like the influxes. For a lot of people, probably five is going to be when there's a seventh edition, five's going to be the golden era, probably because of like Critical Role. Like they've incredibly like catapulted this into the mainstream, or
Yeah, for
sort
sure.
of. I mean, I
I
think the
just
pandemic has helped it a lot too, but
I just think that almost all D&D players can agree that anything before 3.5 is terrible.
really, I have no recollection of any of that content. I've had light
they
exposure along the way of like knowing about it, but never played it. I've only watched it.
I have attempted to play, and I've read a lot of rule books for them, and it's rough. A lot of
Really?
the because it was game design still starting out. They didn't know how to build these systems very well. They were okay, but there's a lot of questionable choices, a lot of difficult ways to pick up the game. It's so much more accessible now to play D&D 5th edition than trying to play advanced D&D because sure, it might take longer to understand the core
Come here, girls.
concepts
Come on,
of
babies. Keep going. I can hear you.
picking
Come on,
up
girls.
how to make a character, how to cast spells, what the action economy is in combat. But that's easier than trying to explain. Okay, cool. You walk in this room, you see a monster. The DM rolls on a table to see if the monster attacks you, doesn't attack you, is friendly with you, things like that,
Okay.
or other different round tables and how traps work and how interactions work and out of combat skills. It's just so different compared to what it is nowadays.
Different isn't always bad, but I guess you have to decide what like you like. Like if you
You have
played
to draw the
basketball for a
barrier
long
somewhere.
time and someone was like, "Hey, we're gonna play 21," and like it completely changes it up, and someone's gonna be like, "Yeah, I don't like that. Like I'm already used to this, and I like this." I think change is hard for people too. So I think that's a big reason why like someone gets so accustomed to 3.5, and then they're like, ugh, like why backpedal or like why try to make something better?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
like you could probably even compare that to like this one might be a little controversial, but like Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 2. You know, you haven't played much of you played a little bit of 1, but I don't think you've played 2 at all, have you?
I played the first area of 2, and I was like, I'm not feeling this right now, but I'll come back to it later, and then never did.
Yeah, well they introduced a lot of mechanics at face value like from somebody who has like no idea or no context. They introduced a lot of mechanics that are like very uh they're just like not they're not very user friendly. So like
Hmm.
their ideas are really good, they were poorly executed. So someone had an analogy for those that are familiar with Dark Souls, and maybe they can, hinge to this. So um, Dark Souls 1 had very simple mechanics perfectly executed. And then Dark Souls 3 had very simple mechanics executed even better. Whereas Dark Souls 2 had very complex ideas executed poorly. And so it makes for a very weird time. Like there's your health bar gets smaller the more you start to hollow, which is in concept is pretty cool, but like Dark Souls is just a very like figure it out kid kind of game. So
Yeah,
like
it's
a
very
lot of
hands
stuff
off.
they removed the frames and rolling to dodge. I'm sure you're aware of that. So they have it, but they reduced how many frames you get and they attached it to a stat. So you have to upgrade the stat to actually get more frames. And they did not tell you at all. The community had to figure it out. So like they did some things and you'd be like, yeah, well, I don't like that. Let's play 1 and 3 because I like those and I don't like change. And there's a bunch of other stuff too, but you're not incredibly educated on those two games, so I don't want to like spend too much time on that topic. But I think the process of like change between 3.5 to 5 or 3.5 to OG is probably not so much the step forward or backwards. I think people just get very set in their ways.
For sure. Yeah, there are definitely some things that have aged well and not aged well going between editions here and there. I just like, I want to make it as accessible as possible for anyone to pick up and play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
And trying to teach someone 3.5 versus 5th edition, there's a clear victor there.
Okay.
Sure, there might be some more obfuscated rules, or there might be some weird concepts that don't quite translate over from 3.5 to 5th edition, but you know what?
Hmm.
I'll take that. I'm fine with that.
Now, do you think Unearthed Arcana? Do you consider that DLC or 5.5 edition?
I consider Unearthed Arcana to essentially be homebrew content,
Okay.
unless it is officially posted or published by Wizard of the Coast in a book, a printed book. It's neat, but I don't want to run it.
Which is the
Like
one that
almost
that
nine
was
times out
was
of
was
10.
Eberron posted by Wizard? What's the
Eberron was posted and then published, so they
okay?
posted some blips from it, and so what essentially what they're doing is it's like a beta release for a book.
Okay.
They'll release it as Unearthed Arcana. You can have your players play it out, test it, give feedback while they're still working on their end. So they'll take their work they're working on plus player feedback and roll that into the next book that comes out, essentially.
Okay. So do you consider that DLC or 5.5? I
I
guess
wouldn't say
DLC.
it's either one. It's like I said, it's like a beta release.
Okay.
It is an attempt at a five. Not because I wouldn't say adding new books to fifth edition does make it 5.5.
Okay. But
Because
like for
5 point
example, like I'm a shifter. I think shifter was Eberron.
right.
And so like, but it's not necessarily a new thing. Yeah, it's Eberron. So is
Yeah.
it DLC because I'm technically something that wasn't prior in the book, so that's why I asked this
Well,
question.
shifters are in the Eberron book, which is why I okayed
Yeah, yeah,
it.
yeah. But
I
so
wouldn't. I don't think that saying that adding different D&D books makes them DLC.
mhm.
Because at least for me, because I like playing homebrew worlds, I don't want to play in Eberron specifically. I want to take bits and pieces of what I like from different planes of existence and different content and make it into my own world.
Yes, and so
I don't
that's
want to.
something that the experience do with um, D&D. And I was almost gonna say, well, why didn't you do that with 4 when you thought 4 was kind of like too simple? Okay, well, everybody has healing. Well, why don't you have NPCs that have healing debuffs? And maybe you could do that, but it's just too much extra. It's too much extra fat for you to deviate from like the original idea. So then, like, are you really playing D&D 4, or are you just kind of playing your own world?
Yeah. Well, when it comes to like that part of thing, I don't want to actively go against what the game is based around. You know what I
That's
mean?
fair. You don't want to get too
Like,
away from the original concept.
yeah, and I don't want to be an antagonist to my players by saying, actually, no, fuck you, you can't heal at all, get fucked, nerd. Like, I want you still to have fun and enjoy the game while you're playing it.
This
So I
is
can't do
fair.
that kind of thing.
I guess five. When my experience is definitely kind of covered, like the middle grounds. Like there's a good balance between player OP and DM OP. I mean, that's always subject to interpretation, but
I think when it comes to I don't think there's such thing as player OP versus DM OP. There has to be a balance.
yes. So I
Your
hear that the Goldilocks zone is 60% players, 40% DM. So like if doing things right, they have a 60% success rate in scenarios or something like that. They say like so it's a given or something like that, but it's not too easy, you know.
Sure. I think for me it comes down to you have to figure out the kinds of players at your table
Mm-hmm.
and cater to their needs while you're playing
Mm-hmm.
as a DM. So like
Yeah.
if you have players at the table who want to do big, fun, elaborate combat steps, or they want to be in combat more frequently, you need to cater your combats to that person.
Yes.
If you have someone who wants to do more role playing, you have to cater that person too and have more vibrant, interesting NPCs. You have to
That's
cater
fair.
your campaign to that player. If you have someone who wants to min max and play a paladin warlock hybrid pact of the blade,
Boo.
like one of those kind of people, you have to cater to that. You have to be
Yeah.
all right, cool. You want to be in this world, I'm going to build this world around you, but you're still going to have to deal with XYZ.
Gotcha. Now,
And
how
if
do you
those players
feel?
don't mesh along together, then it comes down to trying to figure out what playgroup works best.
Uh-huh.
Because some folks don't want to play with min maxers, or they don't want to play with those combat people. They just want to role play. Well, maybe they go and maybe have to talk to them and be like, all right, cool. Can we work on a middle ground together as a party,
Yeah.
or do I need to find a new DM?
Now, with how much experience you have, like, has it been hard to kind of do that? You know, like, well, like, let's say you're a group of first three. Did you immediately, looking back, like, see a distinction? Like, they just wanted to kill stuff, or did they kind of get into the whole action like a drunken barbarian? You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. A lot of them are just they're very much go first, ask questions later.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also how I play D&D. But now that they've grown up a little bit, they're much more cautious in how they want to do things.
Okay.
Which makes
Yeah.
it more fun for me because when I play in their campaigns, I'm right. All right, let's fucking go. I don't want to ask questions. I want to go and advance the plot.
You're like, oh, guy enters the room, rage, you know, like,
Yeah.
uh, or
I,
the Anthony special, blast him.
one of the characters I played most recently, I played a storm cleric, I'm sorry, tempest cleric, and I was blind. My character was blind, but in combat he could see with true vision for a limited range, and so I would just
Ooh,
lead the other players through to advance the plot because they're like asking too many questions or trying to linger around along too long, and I can tell the DM is not prepared for them to answer for them to ask questions about like, oh, tell me this NPC's backstory about why he's missing that eyeball or things like that. Like
gotcha.
the DM has just given you an NPC to do this part and to move forward, and I'm like, all right, cool, I move forward anyway. Let's go.
So, I actually had two questions come out of this. One is, do you believe in role playing two characters at the same time, or a DM that participates with a PC in the party?
Ooh, neither.
You don't like them?
I I think DM player characters are nifty for specific scenarios, but I don't think they should ever overstay their welcome.
Okay, so I guess just to make sure we're on the same page, like when we're playing, imagine there's the four of us, and then Jeff's like, you know what? I just really want to play a bard, and so like you plug a bard into the group, even like by our agreement, and then for the
I
rest
would
of
never
our.
do it.
But do you just think that's like overstaying their welcome and like all facets of?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because
I think
it takes a very insane level of modesty and like self-governing to like even be able to do that. I know that I would be able to, but I've never actively tried to do it.
I know that it would lead to a problem of your other player characters can only interact so far with your player character as a DM because obviously you, the player, have all the knowledge.
Yes, I mean I
So you
would
have to
like to disagree, but I understand where you're coming from.
you have to be very careful with your words and how you interpret things, and you can't give out too much information or give too many hints,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I think that DM player characters should be able to go in and out as necessary.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think
maybe
having a
if it's
long
part of the
term
story
DM.
or something, I get that.
Sure,
So I know that I would be able to pull it off, and like I don't know this. I don't know if anybody's ever done this. You might even like potentially have done it before. So I was big into Yu-Gi-Oh. not Magic. That was like my thing, and so I would play with people sometimes, and other times I wouldn't. And so I was basically a only child growing up. Basically, like I had a sister, but she's 5 years older than me. So A, she's a girl. B, she's half a generation ahead of me, or
Hmm.
half a decade. So like we didn't like play together. Like I'm into this and she's kissing dudes. Like I'm playing on my Game
Same.
Boy and she's going to a boy's house. Like it's not the same. So I would oftentimes either play video games or find ways to play with myself. And so one of them I would actually do is I would call my one friend and we would actually play Yu-Gi-Oh like over the phone. Like he'd be like, "What did you have on your field?" And we like were really educated about it. And you can do it. Just imagine there's a
Yeah.
screen up in front of you, and you're like, "Oh, okay. Well, I attack your what was Dark Magician 2500 or 26?" Once you get to that level, you can either memorize it
Yeah.
or you can communicate context. So we'd do that. And when that wasn't available, I would legitimately play Yu-Gi-Oh against myself because I had 8 different facets of decks. Facets, probably, I don't know even why I use that word, but I had like a Dark Magician deck, I had a Blue Eyes, I had an Insect, I had a Burn, and I would be able to play against myself without showing biases. Because sometimes you want to like pull some cool stuff off with like combos, but I'm
Hmm.
like on one side, I like know that like if that lasts one more turn, like I'm getting this combo off. But then I'll go to the other side and play against myself, and I'll be like, I know that, but like I want to see how this hand plays out. So for this hand to play out, I need to remove that card. Do you know what I mean? And I was able to pull that off probably 95 times out of 100. I could like
Hmm.
hold my own biases. And for some reason, I enjoyed it. I'm probably weird. Have you ever tried to do anything similar like that? Or are you just not as sadistic as me?
No, like when I play Magic, I'll goldfish a deck, which is like playing the deck out, pretending there's an opponent there, but no, you're not actually playing against anybody, just to see how you're drawing, how to do certain interactions, things like that. But I've never actually sat down and put a deck across from me to just
Yeah.
like that plays a card, then I play a card, then that plays a card. No, I've never done that before.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd be interested to hear if anybody else out there was bored enough that they played against themselves and were able to not be like, "Oh, I could take that off," but like, "Oh, I know there's a magic cylinder there, and so if I attack, like, but like I really don't know that." So like to be able to
Hmm.
have this personal split brain of modesty, I think I'd be able to do it, and so maybe someday I'll get to try it out. Not that I'm like I'd really want to just like showboat that I could DM and be a PC at the same time, but like I know people that have done it, and it might even just be for maybe for this encounter they would use one of these NPCs, and then because like for example was uh who's the guy we recruited?
Erevan?
Airman.
Erevan?
Aravan, yeah. So like you'd play him, but like you weren't really playing him. You were just controlling an NPC. You weren't actually a PC. Like that's completely different.
Yeah,
Now,
sure.
and
Like I'll do that.
you don't like playing people that play two-player characters either.
No, I don't think that makes any sense. You're just playing one person. I'm fine with that. I don't think you having two player characters makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Either try to narrow down your ideas into one thing or
Mm-hmm.
talk to your DM to come with an agreement because there are some variant rules where you can't have two
Mm-hmm.
characters air quotes.
Yeah.
Like I was reading Tasha's the newest D&D book, Tasha's Cauldron to Everything, which has a bunch of rules about sidekicks and hirelings and hired guns, whatever you want to call them. So you can do that thing,
Okay,
but
so
that,
that's a
oh,
little
that
different though. But
yeah, it's not a fully fledged other character. It is
yeah.
someone who can do more things for you that doesn't die in a heartbeat like a familiar, but isn't a fully fledged character.
Okay, yeah, like kind of like special summons and stuff. So the most common example I've seen it happen, and it's because I've seen a personal circle of someone I talked to that did it, because people suck, and sometimes you can't establish the numbers that you need for something. And I think, especially if you go with structured campaigns, sometimes there's like a hey, we strongly recommend a 4-player spread, and you're like, well, we only can have 2 people. Like
Hmm.
we got a DM and 2 people because Timmy works third right now, and Kayla is just going through a breakup and doesn't have a lot of free time. So I've seen people where they managed to pull off two because like they're good at role playing 2 different roles, and then they can successfully get through like what's his name the vampire. So
Strahd,
STR. What?
Strahd,
Strahd. I wanted to say
the
straw, but that was a beer. So I was like,
curse of
that's
Strahd.
it's definitely not straw. So for example, like that, like they might recommend 4, like or minimum 3. So
Hmm.
people have done it.
I don't know. I think for that it just kind of comes down to your DM has to do the extra work of rebalancing the encounters to make sure that it works with that player count, versus adding in another difficulty layer for the players to
Burn the
figure
DM
out.
essentially, huh? Jeff is really adamant about putting a lot of extra work on the DM.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. All right, I DM for a long time.
Yeah.
It's mostly on and off DMing, but I DM for a long time. I consume a lot of DM content, and I very much enjoy being a dungeon master. But there is a requirement that comes with being a DM. You are not only the person who is telling the story for your players to play, you are creating the game world around them.
Yeah.
They are coming here to play a game. You are coming here to run the game.
Got you.
You cannot be an antagonist. You can't always be the buddy GM. You have to play cool and fair. So when things are happening in this world, or your players want to do XYZ and they're not prepared for it, you have to put in the legwork to make sure it works for them.
Okay.
Just like the players have to come in to make sure they're going to agree with the rules that you are setting as a DM.
Yeah. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with a two-person party. I think it actually, in a lot of conditions, can be pretty efficient. Like, it gets kind of silly when you start to think, like, here's 4 people that, like, don't belong together, that are, like, belonging together. Whereas you could be like, this is my younger brother, and we're trying to find out who killed our parents. And then, like, it's just so much more efficient. There's so many less turns, you know. So, like, I get that, but I've just I want to know if you had experience with it, because I've seen it twice now. So
I have not had anyone do it, and I would not let them do it. I would either work with them to get like a sidekick or a hireling, or I would
like a pet
retune, or I'd retune my campaign to work better for them with whatever player count we have.
Yeah.
But also, I'm the kind of person who wants to play D&D with either 4 or 5 players max, as plus 1 DM. Like, I don't want to go anything higher than that, because anything past that point, it gets convoluted. People get distracted.
Yes.
People aren't paying attention anymore. It's not fun.
Well, because I think after a couple people, like, if there's a long list, especially when you get in the higher levels, there's a long list of activities that you can do per turn. You could be looking at like 10-minute cycles or something between.
Yeah.
And so it's like, man, this person's been texting because what happened, you know? Like, I haven't personally seen that, but I could foresee that happening.
One of the campaigns I was running, but pre-COVID, it was my best friend, his girlfriend, his sister, his sister's husband, their friend, my ex.
Yo, just play Uno, dude.
And I was the DM.
Just play Uno.
So that's 6 players and a DM, right?
Yikes.
And turn cycles took a long time. Combat took a long time. It's difficult to capture everyone's attention when things take so long, because if players 2 and 6 and 3 want to go to the arena and go fight some dudes for money, while players 1, 4, and 5 want to go advance the plot and do the actual thing they came to this town to do, you then have to split everyone's attention and work with both halves and keep them both entertained. Because at one point, someone's going to go on their phone and just start scrolling through Facebook, and they would be like, "Oh, hey, what do you want to do now for your turn?" You know, Bob the Goblin. And they're like, "What?" And they've missed the past 20 minutes of events that have been going on.
Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty bad. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about D&D. Anything you want to close on that topic?
Go play. Not right now because it's COVID, but like, find someone to play with. Play online.
No,
do something
actually, go play right now. Find some people you're friends with online if you're tech savvy, and go play. Because right now, during quarantine, I think a lot of people lack human interaction. And so it is a very good opportunity.
For sure.
That's why I said the pandemic has definitely been very helpful for this, among all the other shining stars out there right now that made D&D more popular.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I like the community aspect of playing with people that are close to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, go play D&D. Go do it.
Okay, so I got the next question is a little bit more personal, and you can release whatever details you feel about it, but it's something that I'm interested in. So you lived in Long Island at one point, which is,
I did.
What, 1,800 to 2,100 miles away from where you were born, and
about 2,000 miles.
Okay, I knew it was somewhere around there. So it's laterally equal to me, and I still don't know how far from where I am latitudinally to Florida. So, but anyways, I was assuming. What is that experience like? Just completely like pack and ship and like living somewhere that is completely geographically like not the same, you know, like, and at a completely different situation, completely different job. Like, how was your experience?
I wouldn't say fortunate, but I was fortunate enough, I guess, to not have a lot going on for me here in Orlando at the time, which is why I sort of moved there. I
So you
had
didn't have any ball
just
and chains or nothing.
yeah, like I was living with my dad, and I had like my TV. The bed wasn't mine; it was like my dad's then wife's stepdaughter's, whatever. Like I had my TV, I had an Xbox, I had my laptop, I had clothes.
Just
That was
very
about
easily
it.
movable stuff.
Yeah, and I had just lost my job. And also, I'd been talking to this girl for a while. We'd been dating for a long distance for like a year, and I was like, well, I've got nothing else going on for me here, and she's offering for me to go live with her. Up in New York. I've never been to New York before. I've been there once. I visited her once. Let's go, and I did. And
Okay, I like that.
I would say it was interesting. I Most of the time it was like living here in Orlando. I'm not entirely. It's much more rural there. I
Really,
lived
on Long
in
Island?
so I lived in Patchogue, which is off the coast of Patchogue Bay on the south, the southern tip of like the middle part of Long Island.
So I
And
need to know on Google Maps because like I know of Long Island, but I mostly know of like Queens. So you
so
were
that's
you were pretty
that's still
much
part of
central. And that
yeah,
was
that's still
rural.
part of New York City,
Yes, of course.
Queens. So I was about an hour and a half away from Queens,
You're very
where
far
it's
on that island.
basically just like small city squares, highways between, and suburbs nonstop. So not quite rural, but it's much more suburban than Orlando, where I live right now. I live next to a theme park.
You're a
Universal's a
pretty
block
big
away from
city
me.
where you're at right now.
Uh, Cities are different. Like I said, I live next to Universal. There's a bunch of hotels around me and fast food places. Um, the actual like Orlando downtown area is like 20 minutes away from me.
Okay.
Um, but there's much more things going on versus like when I was in New York, where it was like there's a neighborhood, there's some business next neighborhood, there's a gap, and then repeat the process over and over again. It's kind of
Okay.
how I felt when I was there.
Okay.
But it was, I wouldn't say eye opening. It was interesting. It was nice to live somewhere else for a while. I hate the cold. I learned that very quickly. I
Well, you
hate
were born in
any
Florida, so it's like
anything under 75. I'm dying on the inside.
Really? Oh my
I
god,
hate
bro. It's like
hate the cold.
28 outside right now. 24 degrees, dude, and I'm in my
Uh,
sweatpants and shoes walking from my car to the house.
hey Google, what is the temp outside right now?
Right now in Orlando, it's 66 degrees and
It's
cloudy.
66 outside right
Jeff's like,
now.
I'm not going outside. We're home today.
Forecast
I
for
walked
tonight,
out for a little bit and I put
67
on
for a
jeans and
low
a
of
hoodie and it was
61.
okay. Um, but nah, dog, I hate the cold.
Well, that thin blood down there just can't handle it.
I hate it, dude. Absolutely awful.
Us Northerners always laugh at like from South Carolina down that like when it hits like below 60s, you guys come out in like North Faces and stuff,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
absolutely.
once we come out of what would be like our winter right now, which I think hovers anywhere between 10 to 40 depending on the day. There's some outliers. There's some 60-degree days in the winter, and there's some negative tens. It just depends. But the 10 to 40 is pretty normal. Once it hits 45 to 50, like we're outside in long sleeves and shorts, and we're like, man, it is warm. Like 60 degrees hits on, and we're like SpongeBob, like, like it gets hot real quick because that you're like so used to it already.
My dad is from Detroit, right? He lived in Orlando for almost my
Same
entire
winter,
life. But like he's seen some real shit in wintertime. I
same
have
same winter.
never seen that man wear a pair of pants in my life, except when he got married.
Yeah, some
Like
people are like
he
that.
is
They just have
always wearing
Viking blood.
shorts. Yeah. Meanwhile, me, if it goes under 75, I'm like, where the fuck is my jacket, man? I can't do this right now.
So
I'm trying to start a fire in the corner to warm my hands up.
75 is that perfect number, I think, thermally on any situation. But so there's this. I had this conversation with a guy. No, I won't go into much detail about him. But there's a book he read about like people that some of this information is a little like flat, but essentially your body, humans are incredible at adapting just in general, because we can
Hmm.
live in any type of temperate zone. Now, your body, the theory is that by not wearing more than you actually need. And as you get colder, since your body is replacing 1 million cells a day, your body is creating cells that maybe off put heat more so that you don't need, and this is something that he believes in and it's worked for him. And I mean, sometimes old people are a little set in their way. This guy's like in his 50s. And he was like, yeah, my vision started going blurry. And in his mind, he was like, well, so the body is capable of overcoming something, so what he did is he had this concept where he would essentially start to read in dim lit light. Once he started to lose his vision, he started reading in dim lit light, and it would challenge himself and it would give him headaches and all this stuff. But his body was like, hey, we're not capable of surviving this problem. So somehow it like his eyes like cells got bad, whatever. And he says it 100%, Cayce, I shit you not, it worked. It took a while. And I don't think like someone who like you that has glasses, I think there's like, no, like you're genetically, you just don't have as strong of eyes. Whereas he was like a fully 20/20 vision person. It started to get worse. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
this is, it's probably just some witchcraft theory stuff, but some of it kind of probably has scientific backing. And he told me there was a book that you could read that kind of like gives some basis to it, like about challenging your body, like thinking about working out, how your muscles get stronger, or cardio, you breathe better, all kinds of situations. Like you get faster at reading. The body is just really good at adapting and improving what it needs to. So he was like, I just started reading in dim lit lights, and it like after a while, like my eyes started getting stronger. So I thought that was wild.
I don't really know if I buy into all that kind of stuff. I think that tangible evidence is much more important than one guy's experience one time.
Yeah, so I mean, he could be an outlier, definitely. I don't think there's a book out
Yeah.
there that, hey, bro, just read in dark lit light and you'll go from 10/10 to 20/20. Like, I don't think it works that way, but like maybe
Yeah.
deviations, because there are people that like, dude, I know a guy at work, like he never wears pants, and then like when it gets this cold, he'll throw like a pair of sweats on just to go to and from the car. But like those are like some joggers that come on and off
Emergency
easy.
sweats.
Yeah, just because like it's a little nippy at 15. Okay, like it gets cold, so. I was interested in you moving to New York because I have not lived in you. I've traveled fair amount for my age, but I've never like just up and packed my bags and gone somewhere. And it's definitely something that I will be doing within sooner or later. And I say sooner as in like it could be sooner, or later as in within 5 years. Like it's something that I want to try because
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a ball and chain. I have stuff, but I don't have kids, wife, like anything really tiny here, an ill family member.
Right.
So I got to try it. So you got to go and do that. And whenever I see somebody that did that for whatever reason or lived in the army, I like kind of envy them because I want to experience a different world, in air quotes.
I would do it again with better circumstances around it.
Like better
Because
financially or
I moved up there for a girl.
yes.
I was very young. I was like, I think 20, maybe just from 21, something like that. Very dumb kid. No money, no plans. I
Yeah.
worked at like a fucking grocery store for a while when I was up there. I would do it again if I had the financial backing to make sure I could stay afloat,
Yeah.
and if it was a place that I knew I really enjoyed.
Okay. Like
Like
savings
living
or, a job that shipped you there or something.
for sure, like a
Yeah.
job that shipped me there, or enough savings, or a job where I can work from home
Mm-hmm.
to make my living how I choose to,
A lot of
as
people
well as
encourage that too, like to just go somewhere else because then you can really like find out who you are or something. Like you can be the person you want to be in an area where nobody knows who you are, sort of.
like I stayed in Salt Lake City around this time last year with again with another girlfriend of mine, um, and it was beautiful there, and I loved it.
How come
Just
you left?
very. So I was helping her move back down to Florida. I wasn't staying there. I was visiting
Mm,
her out. She was moving down to Florida. I moved up there to help her as we drove with her stuff back down from Salt Lake City.
I think I remember you talking
Um,
about this too on
yeah, it was
stream or
right before.
something.
It was right before we started doing reroll. So I
Yeah.
think you and I were still planning the podcast at first.
Yeah, that's why it kind of tickles my memory.
And it was beautiful there, and I think that I would probably enjoy it there. But also, it's super conservative, and I'm very much not a conservative person, so I don't think I could ever live there. But it's pretty, and going back to Long Island, I probably couldn't live in that same area because it was very boring to me. It was
Okay.
nice, it was cute, but like there was never a whole lot going on versus me living in Orlando where I can go to so many different places and go do cool new things. I'd probably move to New York City. I've been there enough times where I know that I'd always be entertained, but it's also stupid expensive to live there, and I can't afford to live there. So maybe if I ever make it rich and big, I'll move to New York
Sometimes the
City and live
wage
there.
is inflated for that exact reason. Just like California, like some jobs that are normally like 40,000 to 60,000 in most places are 115 in California,
Right,
but their
because
rent,
the cost of living is different.
yes. So like they're Amazon people make 30 an hour, or whatever. I
Yeah,
don't know what the real translation is, but I've seen that that adjusts sometimes.
yeah, for sure. I don't know. I would do it again, just with much more planning behind it than right now.
I think everybody should if they don't have a ball and chain. I before
All
I
I have is a
forget,
cat.
the ain't really a ball and chain. That's more like a, I don't know what it
He'll
is,
come with
but
me. He doesn't know any better.
so you mentioned that it's extra conservative there, and I thought about one of the things I noticed during our electoral postings for 2020, that when you start seeing like which cities and who's flipping and all that stuff, just because it's a very controversial election, and so Oklahoma City, there is not a lick of blue in any of their electoral. For those that'll watch the VOD, I don't know if it'll actually pick it up. Yeah, because I only have it capturing Discord. But yeah, literally, you can go and find the results, and there's literally not a lick, not even in Oklahoma, nothing. So they're like insanely conservative. And one of my good friends lives there, and he says, yeah, it's crazy, especially like a lot of the Q stuff and all that, like toxic MAGA, like
Hmm.
really toxic racism, like the kind of stuff that like people usually have bottled, like they just don't care down there. It's really bad, and that's like unusual for large cities. They generally always lean liberal. So it was like, dude, you live in an entirely conservative area. That's like wild. There's not a single other state. There's not even one state can pull off a full blue. It's just Oklahoma owns red.
I just thought it was super jarring because, again, like I said, I come from Orlando. Orlando is very liberal. Sure, the old white people here definitely have some sticks up their asses about certain things, but it's very liberal here. People are very open. There's a lot of things going on. LGBTQ rights are a thing. There's
Nice.
some titty bars. They're 2 hours away in Tampa. There's a casino where I can go gamble my life savings away. There's a lot of things going on here. A lot of very liberal things. And then going to Salt Lake City, where like I don't know, 30% of the city is owned by the Mormon Church, and everyone's got guns in their cars, and they're just chilling. And there's only one bar in the entire vicinity of where I was. Like that's baffling to me.
Wow, I didn't think conservative would have anything to do with. I mean, I know Christians and most religions alike kind of can lean conservative, but the one bar is probably like it might just be a dry
Yeah.
region, because like I would think
So
that would be something that would be like a what's that would be a symptom of something in the Bible Belt. I think like if Christian
it is.
power,
So
is it
it's
considered
because
it?
of how Mormon Salt Lake City is, because the Mormon Church is based out
Oh,
of there,
okay,
and you can't drink when you're Mormon.
that's why.
So there's like one bar in the entire area. Now there are soda pop bars where you can go and get your favorite soda pop flavors mixed together,
Now, did
which sounds
restaurants
really
have
cute.
alcoholic beverages though? Like if we went to a
No,
Fridays, they didn't have alcohol.
no,
Whoa, okay, that's crazy. Wow.
it
I
was
bet that one bar is just
no,
mopping up.
it was like a hole in the wall, dingy little dive bar that we drove by, and I was like, that's the only bar I've seen so far in like the 3 days I was there. And my girlfriend at the time was like, yeah, that's like the one bar we have here, and I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, like we don't drink
Yikes.
here. Like there were a couple liquor stores I think I saw, but they were like very far and few between. Where like I can go to Walgreens across the street and go buy a bunch of booze if I wanted to right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's weird because, like, I don't think conservative or liberal really, I didn't think they had any type of take on either direction about alcoholism or non alcoholism. But I guess it's probably the Morbin or religious based side a little bit more.
It for sure is, and I'm very much not part of the demographic. I am nor religious nor conservative.
Hmm.
So like living there would be beautiful. I would not. I would stick out like a sore thumb every time I'd be there.
I mean, I don't think you have to, like, put your politics into your identity, though. Like, if you're there, like, you're not
No,
walking
for sure
around.
not.
So I don't know. That's its own
But like
conversation.
some of the things that I believe in, like you and I talked earlier before we started recording about like smoking CBD. Like I think marijuana should be legalized. Fuck it, why not? It's not
Yeah.
hurting anyone. That's
Hmm.
not going to happen in Utah for a long time. All
Hmm.
right.
they're probably
So
going to
like
be.
that's one of those things.
I guess that's actually not. I mean, because they have no alcohol there, you're probably right. But I think in places where it might be more conservative, like I would say like Texas or so, like there's probably some. I think Colorado is very liberal. I think or Oregon is also very liberal. But
Hmm.
some conservative states can definitely abide to it because of like tax policy and just revenue in general.
Sure.
Like PA is pretty swing statey, but I guess I would have to say that it's probably more liberal because of Philly and Pittsburgh, but like there's a lot
Hmm.
of rural area in PA, so I think that's what makes it a swing state. But like so I don't want to classify us as a conservative state, but like medicinal marijuana didn't take very long to come here, so I think. But
We're still waiting on it here in Florida.
people have said that all Commonwealth are generally very greedy states, and so maybe that had something to do with it. Like, dude, our state didn't have alcohol in gas stations until 3 years ago. I
Yeah, I
don't
believe
know
it.
if that's normal in other places, but all the places around me that have ever been, West Virginia, New York, Ohio, like did you go throw up 20 in your tank and be like, yeah, I'm gonna grab a 40 ounce, like that's normal. Whereas here to get around it, they had to start like gas was like put outside transactions in like a little hub or something so that you could classify your gas station as a cafe, and then you had to buy the gas right next to it, and that was how they got away with it. And then I don't know, maybe they were like, okay, well they're getting away with it, so let's just put it everywhere, and so then a lot of our more common ones didn't have to do this weird exploit, if you will. They finally decided whatever, like it's not a big deal, we're making more money.
I remember I was in Alabama because I have family in Alabama. It was my grandmother's 75th birthday, and we went to Walmart. It was me, one of my cousins, her boyfriend, and my other cousin's boyfriend. And we were all to Walmart to go get like snacks or something like that. They had a big old floor display full of like Coors Light or some shit like that. And one of the cousins was like, "Oh, let's grab some beers for everyone on the way back. I can go for a beer." And my cousin who lives there was like, "No, you can't buy that." We both looked and we're like, "Why not? Like, if they want a beer, they can get a beer." And she's like, "No, it's Sunday. You can't buy alcohol on Sundays in our county."
Mm,
And like my brain stopped working for a second. I was like, "What?"
yeah,
And
that's
she's
the
like, "Yeah,
thing.
we're a dry state. You can't buy alcohol on certain days." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I
It
have
made no
seen
sense to
that.
me.
At PA, they were weird about that too. Like you couldn't buy alcohol up to a certain point, and they recently like pushed it back. Like I think it's like it was like noon to 5. Don't quote me on it, but there's some weird thing like that. Like on Sundays, you can't buy alcohol or something.
It's just so bizarre. And again, another regional difference when I lived in New York was that here in Florida, if I go up until recent events, I could go to Walmart and go buy a gun today, right now,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a whole section for it in the outdoor section. In
Yeah.
New York, where I lived, completely gone. And when I first went to Walmart in New York, I was like, huh, there's no gun section, there's Walmart. And my then girlfriend at that time, who'd always lived in New York, was like, we need a gun section. And I was like, yeah, they're in all the Walmarts, aren't they? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
And I was like, huh,
Yeah.
that's
Ours
weird.
does. All of them do.
Not anymore, because now they've gotten rid of, at least a lot of them have, and they're much more
Sort of.
stricter
Yeah.
about them.
So
Yeah, they're
like
more
even the
strict
more
about
inner
them.
city ones, like the one that's the most in city, still has a hunting section, and like
Hmm.
except the difference is like some of them I've seen they have the ammo and guns behind the counter, whereas this one it's a hallway like shelving, and then they just
Yeah,
have them behind lock and key, and then like all the hunting calibers like shotgun and stuff, like all that stuff's out in the open, but they removed all common calibers associated with I think like mass shootings and stuff. So there's like no
yeah,
pistol
for
cartridges.
sure.
There's no 5.56. There's only awkward hunting calibers like 270 and 308, but like nothing like no pistol whatsoever, no rifle.
Yeah,
Yeah, no semi-auto rifle stuff. And yeah, I thought that was interesting because we're pretty swingy, but I think that was just Walmart policy. That isn't even state related. They
it
just
was it
decided
was Walmart policy.
they decided to like sign on to that. Hmm. So we'll get into one of the, I guess the questions that defines this channel. And so I'm going to ask you the question and you can try and answer it. And then I will give you my answer and then you can reconstruct your answer if you want. So, to preface it, I am fascinated with a concept that, life isn't fast. Its chapters are actually fast. So we go through life and live in certain chapters of our life where there are specifics that define this chapter of our life. What chapter of your life are you currently on?
Hmm. I kind of like that idea. I would say that I'm currently in the adulthood chapter of my life, if that makes sense. Like, sure, I'm turning 29 this year. I'm not quite at the big 3-0 yet, but like looking back on how I was 5 years ago compared to how I am now, I'm much more grown up. I still have a bunch of dumb, stupid hobbies that for sure aren't super mature.
Playing video
Um,
games online?
Playing video games online, rolling dice
That's
with a bunch of
mean
fucking
though. Yeah,
weirdos.
but like whatever, man. Everybody does a
I
different
currently
way.
have like 3 different piles of magic cards on my desk of things I'm working on.
Hey, dude, I built Legos the other day, and so
Fuck
I
yeah,
have Master
dog.
Chief and a Grunt on my desk. So sometimes the child comes out.
Um, but I think the way that I have grown up emotionally has really changed and defined who I am more. I wouldn't say that's in a bad change. Um, I've just become more aware of who I am and what I want to do with my life, more so than how I was 5 years ago or 10 years ago when I
Yeah,
was, you know, just barely out of high school, um, still trying to get laid and have a good time,
yeah,
or I want to be the next big pro video game player. This long before Twitch was a thing. Um, I think now I've sort of grounded myself and given myself expectations on things that what I want to do and what I can achieve for my goals,
hmm
and I'm much more rational about it, and I'm much less caring about other people's opinions and how I want to accomplish those goals as long as I enjoy how I'm doing it.
Okay, so that's a good chapter to be in. I'm definitely very curious to see, everybody's going to be in different chapters, and they're of any lengths. And how long would you say you've been in this chapter?
Probably the past like year and a half, 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think that so to get personal for a bit, I got divorced a couple years ago, and I think after I got out of that relationship, it really opened my eyes of like who I want to be and how I want to live my life.
Okay.
And I think that was the big defining moment of like, all right, cool. I now no longer have that ball and chain. I no longer have this person to please. I can now do what I want and how I want to do it. I'm going to explore those avenues how I want to do it.
Yes. So you're in an independent, realization of who you are kind of phase. That's cool. That's really good.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am a strong single woman, and I don't need no man.
I will answer the question myself just so that you get to hear it. However, I did just do this in what would be considered the last episode, so I'm going to dilute it a little bit. My current chapter has been a maybe 4 month long journey of me trying to decide what I'm going to do with my life that involves, either a pursuit that's passionate or a pursuit that's wealthy. So I've a list of like 4 to 5 ventures that I have decided I wanted to do, opposed to being,
Hmm.
like, if I could relate to you, like, do I really want to spend a large portion of my life and time working in uh, a warehouse that has, family games and stuff, like what you know, the
Board
general,
games,
yeah,
board games,
yeah.
not family
But
games. There's a difference.
being exposed to people that have accomplished feats that allow them to do whatever they want in life and still make a living off of it, even if it's not a lot. So I want to pursue
Hmm.
something of that degree. Like if it's silly to say, hey, I want to be a full-time podcaster, even if I only get a Patreon that supports me at 20,000 a year, you know what I mean? And then I have to live off somebody, but I would do it in a manner that's happy. So the chapter I'm currently living in is trying to decide what I'm going to do with my life on a career level. I am also struggling with it because I am very set and I'm very comfortable. I'm in a place that everybody's been there for like 20 years, 25 plus. Like, it's a great place. I could literally just not try to do anything in my life and I could succeed in 40 years just by
Hmm.
doing what's the common 401k health insurance job, but I'm not happy with it. So that's what the chapter I am currently in.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. For me, it's very much like there are things I want to do, or I could just do the normal path of just staying at my current job and just work my way up slowly over time, or find a better job in the similar field and work up that corporate ladder. Or I can be like, you know what, I want to do this, and then I
Mm-hmm.
do this.
Yes.
I would love to make my ventures of podcasting and writing and Twitch streaming to be my full time job. And one of my goals for this year in particular is to at least make it a revenue stream that is more consistent than the spotty Twitch payouts I get every once in a while.
Nobody makes money off Twitch.
People make money off Twitch, but it's definitely a very difficult thing to get into, and it's a very small percentage of Twitch streamers who make money from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
So I
I
guess
agree entirely.
being exposed to people that have made that, and it's of all walks, people that are professional surfers, people that make pottery and sell it, and even the more mundane jobs that they've found the job that they know they want to do for certain, like detailing cars. I just I've seen people say that, oh well, working 40 hours a week for the big man is pretty commonplace, and then if you're unsatisfied with it, and then just find a hobby that gives you that fulfillment. And I'm not buying it. Like I've seen too
Yeah.
many people that can, I really stress the, oh hey, well, like maybe I could be a podcaster who makes just enough to live, because in my area you can live off 20,000 if you have a spouse,
Hmm.
or and like that's fine, like that's perfectly okay if you're willing to sacrifice that. My mom once told me that she would work at Build a Bear if she could pay the bills, because the fulfillment that she would get from making teddy bears for kids would
Yeah, for
would
sure.
be completely fine. Like that is, I could do that every day, and I understand that, and I sympathize with it. So that's the chapter I'm in, and it's kind of hard when you're complacent. I think struggle makes decisions and accomplishments happen quicker because you have to. Whereas I'm sitting here comfortable with a good paying job, and now I'm trying to stop doing that, uh, mess up my life, and then make it again in a career that might be more fulfilling.
I think you and I have very similar chapters ahead of us.
Sure, man. Air toast. um,
Cheers.
So yeah, that's a good chapter, man. So I have another topic. It is your current media of the week that you are into, and understand that media is a pretty blank statement, and it can be any shape, size, or form. Movie, music, video game, article, uh, topic, you name it.
I've been listening to a lot of Thundercat, um, who I
The
haven't
bass
heard of
player?
until last week. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Thundercats. This is gonna be a
I,
really good conversation after you finish it. So carry on.
I hadn't heard him before, and then I remember I was listening to. He's like he did a collaboration with some other artist I listened to, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" And I caught his video for, I think it was Dragon Ball Durag, and I was like, "What the absolute fuck is going on in this video right now?" But I'm grooving to him. I'm feeling it,
Yeah, dude's
and I've been
got a
listening to it, like
lot of
not like
soul with his
nonstop.
6 string bass.
And I didn't know that he used to be the bass player for Suicidal Tendencies. Did you know that?
I do not. So I know
Yeah.
of Thundercat, and he is on the list of. I'll answer that after you're done, like with any Thundercat expo you want to do.
No, I found that out. So I don't know too much about the band Suicidal Tendencies. They're a thrash metal band. They've got one
I'm gonna write
song I
that down.
know. Um, you've probably heard it before. The fuck, what's it called? Institution.
I don't know. I listen to a
You,
lot of music, and I miss a lot of music because it's insane how much is out
it's
there.
from like when we were kids when that song came out. So it's very much an older song for us.
I'll write it down so I can check
But
into
he
this.
was a touring bassist in like the mid 2000s, and now he makes these like super cool, neo soul funk beats, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, I can get to this, hell yeah,
Nice. So it's like your current lo-fi, if you will. Like you kind of just vibe.
yeah, just vibing with it. That, and I've been watching Bleach. I know I vocalized before. I don't like anime. Anime is not my thing.
Yeah, but
Um,
Bleach is.
but I was like, you know what? I've heard this show is good. I'm gonna give it a shot. It's on Hulu. I have Hulu. I started watching it. Still not really invested. I'm like 50 episodes in, but now it's just kind of like background noise. I'm like, oh, what's happening? Okay, this guy's got a Pokemon and a sword, and he fought this guy. All right, cool. Back to what I was doing before, like going on my phone or like working on Dungeon and Dragon stuff.
I think anime
I'll come
is
back to it.
interesting if it's self-explored. Like if you look at it from the outside, it's kind of one of those things that like you don't really understand. Like kind of like screamo music. Like if someone was just like, "Hey bro, like check out some of this shit." And you're like, "Whoa, like what am I listening to?" You know, like but if you were like curiously get into anything, and anime is one of those that just doesn't cater to like anybody to just pick up. But if you're like, yo, anime is like really popular, like what are some good animes? And then you watch Attack on Titan or whatever the top 5 are of like recommended animes that like are easy to move into. I think they're cool. I'm not really into like I know people that like just listen like to only anime and then they like watch them multiple times and I'm like if that's your thing cuz it's completely different. Like it's not American film, and I think that's why it's not for everybody. Like it's completely different, and that's not a bad thing. Like I appreciate what they do, but like the concept of like people just like, yeah, I don't know, how I feel about anime. I think they gets forced on them, where they say like, hey, go watch something like really cringy, like One Punch Man or Hero Academia or something that like just is a little too extra for people that are used to watching soap operas. Do you like that's a heavy
Hmm.
transition?
Like for me, a lot of my friends like anime and they watch it, and they've always given me recommendations to watch over the years. And I'll watch a few episodes, and I'll be like, you know what, nah, dog, not for me.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, watching things like Adult Swim, stuff like that, like Cowboy Bebop is probably my favorite anime. That's probably the only one out of all the ones that I've seen where I can sit down and just watch an episode and be like, "Fuck yeah, let's go." Um, but there's so many more reasons as to why I enjoy that particular show versus watching other animes that I've tried to watch. Like out of the top 10 you listed, like I watched One Punch Man because like 8 episodes. I could kill that in like an afternoon, and it was all right at best. I thought the concept was cool. Some of the jokes were funny, but not something that I could obsess over. Um, I watched the first, I think, season of Attack on Titan, and I was bored out of my fucking mind. Like some important character died, and I was like, "Oh, sucks to be that guy." Later, nerd. Um, but like I don't know, some of the ones when I was a kid just had so much more of an impact on me in different ways than just the general whatever anime is out there right now or was cool. Because I watched One Piece sometime last year. I watched a couple hundred episodes of that. Again, background noise as I work on other things. I'm still paying attention, and it's all right. I think I watched. I say 400 episodes, but I know I found a website to skip all the shitty filler episodes that didn't have any plot part of it. So I probably skipped a good 100 episodes of like filler shit
Okay.
to keep with the main course of the show. And I just got bored of it after a while. The character design's really cool. I think the concept of the powers are really cool for all the villains and heroes, but like I just stopped caring after a while.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just realized that for those that end up watching the VOD, we have the exact same headphones and mic, so that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. Didn't
I
realize.
thought you knew that.
I did, but like I forget. Like it's one of those things that isn't like
Oh.
rooted in my memory. Like, yo, I know somebody who has the same setup. You know, like whereas I just saw it and I was like, wait a minute. So
Yeah,
anime
dog.
is yeah, dude. I don't know. So I watched. I'm not heavily vested in anime because I don't do shows very well. I something about like my personality, like I do. I'm very picky with like what I do media wise, but when it comes to like, hey, I have this Saturday off. Like, what am I going to do with my time? So there's a
Hmm.
chronological order. It's like play video games, watch people play video games, watch TV. And so that's the chronological order. So it rarely ever falls onto that third category. And the only time it even falls into watch other people play video games is A, if I'm curious about a game, so it's a short window, or B, I'm too tired to put effort. Like some of those days where you're just spent. You have no physical effort to even hold a
Yeah.
controller and lay back, where you're just like,
You just
nah.
want background
Yeah,
noise.
well, not even that. Like, you just want to watch somebody. You're like, like I really enjoy watching people play Dark Souls. So you're like, instead of me doing my third playthrough, and it's easy, but it still requires mental and physical effort to play it. It sounds really lazy,
Hmm.
but people get there. They just kind of want to drone. You're like, yeah, I just kind of want to like maybe nap in between watching it. For me to get to that level where like I'm not watching anything on Twitch or I don't have anything on YouTube that I need to catch up on is very rare. So I don't get a
Hmm.
lot of exposure time unless somebody's like, hey, dude, like this show came out and everybody likes it, or maybe I'll pick it up then. Now, somebody recommended to me a long time ago because I played a lot of Oxygen Not Included. They recommended uh, Doctor Stone, And so the synopsis for
No idea
people
what
that have
that
never heard
is.
of it is uh basically the world everybody hardens up into stone, and this one guy is like a mad genius. Like basically he's like the Wikipedia page of science. Like he's that smart. Like he has it memorized. Not just, oh, I need to go look up the chemical structure of this. I need to remember how this responds to this. Like he has it memorized. Like he's a
Hmm.
mad genius, and he unhardens first out of this stone form, and he literally counted the seconds from, like, apparently he was still conscious the whole time. He counted the like seconds and days, and opened up before anybody else. And so he was the first one. And since he was so smart, he started experimenting with how to like unharden people. And yeah, and then he goes through the process of getting more people and like choosing who he frees and discovering people and whatnot. But the process of him like reintroducing science into a world that like literally is just stick and brick, like he has
Hmm.
water, tree, and whatever they can get out of the ground. And so then he like makes electricity and like does all this stuff. And then yeah, so it was entertaining to me. And the way they do the emotions in a lot of these animes is like something that maybe I can enjoy for someone who's not super diluted. But like the way they express emotions in animes is like super, like if there's 100% meter for you to be able to tell someone's crying, they push it to 500, and they make the person's
Hmm.
face real big, and they semicircle their
Yeah,
eyes, and it's like a
the
waterfall.
see, I'm the opposite where I hate the over exaggerated emotions that come with
You
anime
don't like
tropes
that?
like that. Absolutely hate it.
I could see maybe if it
I
got annoying like over time, but for the little
For me,
bit that I
it's
dipped my
always
feet in,
annoying.
really,
From the
always.
start, it's always annoying. I
Oh
hate it.
man, even the
One of
first
the things
one
I
you
like
ever
about
watched.
Bleach so far, it doesn't have a lot of that.
Okay.
Um, Cowboy Bebop has a little bit of it, but not too bad. Castlevania, the Netflix, it's an anime and art style, but it has almost none of the anime tropes that come on with the genre.
Okay.
None of that. None of the those dumb emotions. Love that show. Show is great.
Hmm.
But that's one of the things I fucking hate about anime
No, I like
are
it. I
those
appreciate it
things.
because it's a different world to them. Like I said, the
Sure,
translation
I,
from a
I can
soap
respect
opera,
it's a different
a
world.
soap opera is very like soft and like definitely emotional. I don't watch them, but I like kind of know what the general sense of a soap opera is. It's like, low tier recording shows that, there's drama. Whereas like you go to anime, like the drama interpretation of it is like way different. It's just exaggerated emotions. And instead of just like making it, because a lot of languages that aren't American, like a lot of European, are mostly actually like Asian languages. They don't convey a lot of emotion in their
Hmm.
words. Like we have tonality. Like you can tell when someone's like what, or when they're like what. Like the difference is insane, and people can't always pick up on that. So over there, I think they just use that exaggeration since they can't. The voice actors can't do it. I think that's part of the reason
Right.
why they do that.
I don't know. I'm not a linguist, nor am I a sociologist. I
Mm-hmm.
can't comment on that. I just know I don't like it.
So no, wait.
that's
What
that's
is?
one of my
Go on.
that's one of my biggest beefs with anime are those
Gotcha.
dumb
I think the correct answer
expressions.
actually, like a Japanese, I think in particular, I think it was my buddy that told me this, where he said that they they're like if you actually add tone to what their like basically sound structures are, it can actually like completely change it to be I want a coffee or to I'll scratch your back or something. Like that's a really poor example, but I think their tonality is way more precise, so they don't have that ability to express emotions through their words. So that's probably why they do that.
I don't know if I don't know about Japanese, but I know for Chinese, Mandarin Chinese is like that, where the
Yes.
tonality very much affects how what you're saying is conveyed to someone else. Because I tried learning Mandarin once a long time ago and it did not go very well.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. So maybe that's the reason for it. And I just think it's cool. I don't know. That's me. I'm not liking it. It's normal too. So we moved from Thundercat to anime into that conversation, which was really good. But doubling back to why I said I'll tell you about my Thundercat experience. So my actual media of the week, which is interesting, has been Mac Miller. And so I've always been a huge fan of Mac Miller. I listened to Kids when he got his first Rostrum Records album. Are you very familiar with Mac Miller at all?
I know who he is.
Okay.
I think I maybe listened to one or two of his songs.
Well, he's a Pittsburgh boy, and I'm 90 miles from Pittsburgh, so like he's a very
It's close to home.
PA rapper. Like he just raps PA,
Mhm.
talking about like the snow made him and smell good like an Eaton Park cookie. Like it just like I can vibe with it, and I also appreciate
Sure.
him as a lyricist, and then like just as an artist. Like he's really incredible. Like if you ever go into the mood for a deep dive on somebody, like he's an incredible person. Mr. Smiles. But anyways, so I always have been a fan of Mac Miller, but recently I wanted to, ever since we were driving back from Holiday Valley, which is a ski resort, we were listening to Delusional Thomas and Faces, which are two of his mixtapes, because T is not very familiar with them. And he has a big body
Mhm.
of work. He has a big body of like officially published work. And then he's got, of course, several mixtapes that are controversial. Like either they posted them as a mixtape, the usual fashion that, like it's not the way his mainstream work is, so people don't like it, or they like it more because it's not his mainstream work. It's one of those situations. So I've been listening to um, Macadelic more, Delusional Thomas, and Faces, just kind of like listening to his mixtape stuff more, because I'm not like literally that situation. I know all of his mainstream stuff really well, but I never put enough time into those. And so I've been from like start to finishing Mac Miller, just kind of like reappreciating him. And
Mhm.
he did work with Thundercat, like in his later stuff. One of his
Hmm.
songs, it was called "Small Worlds." Literally, he did the bass line. I think it was "Small Worlds." Wait, I gotta look up the album just to double check. But it's not going to show him. I just need to see. Um, it was no, it's "What's the Use." Dun, 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 dun. I'd play it for you. I could, but it'd probably on YouTube get
I'll look
content.
it up
I'll
later.
send it to you though. It's "What's the Use." Sorry, it's not "Small Worlds." What's the use? But Thundercat made the bass line, and you can actually go on YouTube and you can find Tiny Desk. Do you know about NPR Tiny Desk?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mac Miller does one, and Thundercat
Mhm.
plays the shaker in the first song, and then the next two he plays the bass.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so
Because Thundercat also has a tiny desk.
so yeah, so that when you said Thundercat, I was like, that's hilarious because they're all semi-related, and
Mhm.
so in the later years of Mac Miller's career, I guess they were like really good friends. Like apparently, him and Mac Miller have like a full produced album that just is like personal. Like they never plan to release it, but just like
Mhm.
serious artists do that. They'll like make music together and like have fun, but they're like, yeah, this
Yeah.
isn't really for public consumption because it's just not. It doesn't. It's not their general body of work. It's like being for some reason it keeps coming back to me, being a screamo artist, but then you want to like
Mhm.
make pop music for fun with your friend who's just a really good singer, and you're like, I would never identify with pop music, so we just did this for fun and we listened to it when we're bored. I think it's something like that, or maybe it's more personal because he's no longer alive. But my media of the week was Mac Miller and listening to some of his older stuff, like 1 through 8, and like Vitamins, and I think Wedding, and just random mixtapes of Mac Miller. But yeah, if you do you like hip hop?
Yeah, I really enjoy hip hop.
Yeah, Jen, you need to expose yourself to some Mac Miller. I can make a playlist for you if you want some of the like, get some of the fat out of there.
Sure.
Okay, and then whenever you want to listen to it. I won't be upset if you don't. So, yeah, um, pretty good stuff. That was my sole focus. I don't really have anything other crazy. Just been listening to a lot more Mac Miller.
Fair enough. I listen to a lot of music, so it doesn't really matter.
I used to be like
I'm
that.
always playing something.
Yeah, I used to be like
I
that.
need it. I need music to focus when I'm working on other things. If it doesn't require my ears to like edit audio,
Hmm.
I need something in the background, or else I will lose my mind.
That's fair. I used to get really, really into deep diving it, like where I listen to music and I would interpret like what they mean, what does it mean at face value, and then like
Hmm.
what people like don't even realize. So I think I would look at music like, for example, like "Beast of Burden" by the Rolling Stones. Do you know what that's about?
No,
You have an idea? It's basically just like,
never heard the song.
oh, really? Okay, let me think of another one. Yeah, like it sounds entertaining, and what's another like common one? Something that like comes to my mind. That's man. What's your is it hip hop? You really into hip hop? Man, hip hop's generally like
I'm
very
very
straightforward
picky
though.
with
I am
artists.
too, but man, I can't think of any like outright examples where you'd be like, oh, do you know Dave Matthews Band, Crash Into Me or whatever? Everybody knows that
No,
song. You don't know that?
I know who he is. I've probably heard the song, but I couldn't tell you like, oh, that's that Dave Matthews Band song.
um, You've got your ball, you've got your chain. That doesn't sound familiar. Tied to me.
No.
So like, there's these songs that are like super popular and people love them, and they like don't even understand what
Yeah,
they're.
yeah, for sure. There are definitely songs where it's like, was it Hallelujah by
Panic,
what's his name? Or what?
panic.
No, Hallelujah, like the fuck Leonard something,
Leonard Skinner.
Leonard Cohen.
Oh, okay.
No, Leonard
I don't know
Cohen.
that one.
Um, everyone knows this song.
Nope.
It was in Shrek, for Christ's
Not me.
sakes.
Maybe I do, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It comes along a lot at Christmas time, which is funny because some people associate it as a Christmas time song,
Mm-hmm.
but it's about sex. It's about getting dick down and all that kind of stuff. Because my ex also thought it was a Christmas song, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? The song's about getting the shit fucked out of
What
you."
was it
Like,
called?
it's called Hallelujah.
By who?
The original artist, I believe, is Leonard Cohen. Hold on,
Okay.
I'll pull up some lyrics.
Leonard Cohen. I'll look into that one too, because I probably.
Hallelujah lyrics. Like so the intro is, I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? Well, it goes like this, the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the Bethel King composing Hallelujah. And then the second chorus is, or the second phrase is, well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof. Her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to the kitchen chair. She broke your throne and she cut your hair. And from your lips she drew the hallelujah. That's not Christmas. Someone's getting fucked in that chair, okay?
Oh man, so I don't
But
know if that's
that
actually
song,
canon, but I guess I could see where you're going.
that song is in one of the Shrek movies, and I'm like, what?
Well, Shrek has a very good
Yeah,
like habit
Shrek
of
is questionable for
they have
sure.
questionable comedy, and so like Lord Farquaad and like all the stuff that they put in there is like symbolism
Yeah.
for like adults to laugh at. And speaking of which, I just watched stopping by a buddy's house. He was watching the a Twitch thing, Hive Mind. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Oh, I'd never heard of it until it was basically Critical and some other guy I had no idea of. They hosted basically like a Trivia Pursuit type deal where they would have a
Okay.
question proposed and be like, the one question was, what is your favorite Pokemon game, or what was the best?
Mm-hmm.
And so everybody in Twitch chat can access this Hive Mind app, and then they put their answers, and then it's kind of like the same. It's actually basically what's the one with Steve Harvey?
Family Feud.
Family Feud. So I think Family Feud, all of the answers are based on like common
Yeah,
consensus.
they survey 100 people,
Yes.
and they figure out the biggest answers.
It's basically that. And so then there's 4 streamers, and they all guess what it is, and they have to basically like predict the hive mind. Like, what's the census? Oh, what's the best Pokemon game? Well, is it the most nostalgic, or is it the one with the most content? I think Emerald was the answer, and people put like red, yellow, blue. Someone put diamond, and so that was the game. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Shout out from all my homies playing Pokemon Crystal, my best one,
yes.
the favorite.
So the reason I brought that up was what were we talking about before that? There was a reason why I like mentioned that. Fuck.
Songs with more important meaning behind the lyrics.
There was another reason why I brought it up.
Well, that's all I got.
Dang, man, I lost it. I lost that string. I fell off the ladder. There was a reason I brought it up. Oh.
Your train of thought has left the station, my guy.
Yeah, I did. I literally left the station. We forgot where we started. We're already like, dang, man. I can't even just like re-roll that too. Like, I don't remember why I brought it up. It was something about the interpreting songs, and man, I lost it. Whatever, doesn't matter.
Cut all this from the final.
No, it stays in. But it was still pretty cool. It was pretty cool. So I discovered on that there was a girl. I forget her name already, because that's just how my memory works. But it's she's one of those V streamers or whatever, where they use the animated.
Yeah, one of the VTubers.
VTubers, yeah. So what was her name? It's gonna be in my history, so I can pull it up. Code Miko. I didn't know
I've heard of her.
I didn't know she was a thing, but she was on it, and I was like, "Whoa, this is kind of cool, but also kind of cringe." Like, I don't know how to feel about it. Like, it was like interesting, and I was watching her, like interview Pokemon, one of the highlights and stuff, and then like when people donate bits, they like fall because she's in like a VR environment that's like fully interactive,
right?
And I was like, "That's kind of cool. Like, this is kind of the future," but at the same time, like, I was like, "This is also pretty." I don't know. I'm not comfortable with it yet.
I've only seen a couple clips of that particular VTuber, but I've seen some more content of the Hololive people, which are basically just a bunch of people who have like face rigged of anime girls, and they play games and interact with each other on YouTube and whatnot.
I'll have to check
And
it
I
out.
find I don't watch their stuff either. I've only seen clips of it on Reddit because their subreddit trends really high on the all such section of Reddit, and I find it fascinating that their community is so fucking rabid when it comes to these anime waifus because they're real life anime waifus. Essentially, they are living, breathing people that look like anime waifus, and the concept of these characters playing characters live is really neat. But also, it's kind of fucking weird.
Yeah, that's
Like
why.
I don't fully like it either.
Yeah,
I think the production value for what's her face on Twitch is like 10 times higher than the Hololive people,
Okay.
because Hololive is basically just using the face rig and some simple animations. But from the bits and pieces I've seen from the Twitch lady, she has a lot more going on than just
Apparently, it was an
someone
expensive
sitting at a
setup.
webcam.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
sure.
know. I would
'Cause,
actually like. I
the
wanted to look into her, and like so, like among the list of things for me to do now is look up this Leonard Cohen song. I have written down the Suicidal Tendencies and Thundercat. Like, I want to look at all that stuff. But she's also like, wow, I want to see like what this is all about, because I thought it was hilarious that A, she achieved it. B, she uses a full immersion suit, I guess, for VR chat, or maybe something VR chat esque.
Sure.
And then like on her, like what would be like where her breasts are, it's like scrolling chat. So it's just like Kek W XD and like all kinds of stuff. And I was like, man, that's hilarious. Like, I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I think I like watching people.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it, but I think it's a really cool step for the future for us to eventually get to that Blade Runner cyberpunk lifestyle that I don't want to go to.
Perhaps, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It was a new experience to me. I'm like, man, I got to see what this girl's like. All right, so I guess anything that you want to talk about before I do my outro question?
Like, is this my time to plug myself and toot my own horn?
No. We have a plug later, but I guess in this form
okay.
of free flowing conversation, I ask you a lot of stuff that I was interested in about your life, and I guess I'm giving you the floor since we're only at an hour and 45 minutes. If you wanted to ask something to me or something that you just want to talk about that's interesting right now.
I don't really think I have anything that I want to talk about.
That's fine. You don't have to, but I'm giving you. I'm going to try and include in this what is pseudo interview-ish. Sure. I was giving you an opportunity to choose something that you wanted to ask or were interested about. You know, and it could just be literally like Stephen, or what's his name, Larry King would have been an example. Like, that was what was in your coffee, but like this is just a prequel or a sequel to that.
I don't know. Hold on. Let me pull up my fucking Notion life right now. Oh, I could talk about Notion. How's that?
Sure.
I could just talk about
something you wanted to.
How I organize my life. So I use this program called Notion to do everything in now, essentially. I've always been one who likes to take notes and write things down, and I've always been really fucking terrible at scheduling things and like having a big picture view of all the things I'm working on all at once. And I've tried things like Evernote, I've tried Google Keep and shit like that, and I always just lose track of everything because I'm fucking garbage at being a human being. My ADHD does not let me function properly almost any time at all. And I've been using Notion to plan out all the stuff for the D&D podcast for Reroll, where all my campaign notes are in, all my writing. It's more than healthy note taking. That's where all my campaign stuff is. So, like, when we're going through and we're playing, that's where all my narrative is. If you guys ask me where this, about this city, here's all the database of all the NPCs and things like that. It's all inside this app called Notion.
Yes. And
a couple weeks ago, I saw on Twitter this lady who showed me her dashboard of how she has her life organized in Notion. And I was like, fuck, that looks beautiful. Nice. I need that in my life. And so I copied her layout to now have everything I need on a day-to-day basis all the time for me. So I can just turn my computer on, open Notion, here's what I'm working on today, here's all my current active projects, here's some things from those projects I need to work on that aren't on a time schedule, here's my full calendar, all these kinds of things so that I can keep my shit focused.
Okay.
To me. And I think that anyone who wants to have really any endeavor that requires you to take notes and keep things in a centralized location, fucking use Notion. It's just so easy to use.
Okay, that's a
The
good
only
recommendation.
gripe the only gripe I have about Notion is that there's no offline mode right now, which is something that they've been working on for a while
That
because
is
it's still
kind
a
of
relatively new program.
meh.
Yeah, it's kind of iffy, but luckily I rarely don't have data where I am, so I
Hmm.
can just turn it on my phone to like put a note down for later, or if I find an article I
Yeah.
want to read later, I'll put it on
It
there
definitely helps if
and
you're
then
in a
come back to it
major
on my computer.
metropolitan, whatever that word.
Metropolitan area,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
which I am.
so
I'm
you're always in
my
reception. Now somebody who's a little more
yeah.
boony, like out kind of might not have reception.
Yeah, my warehouse has some spotty reception, but like for the most part, if I'm close to the front of the building, I can get reception if I really need it.
Gotcha.
But fuck, it's just so easy to use.
Yeah,
Jesus
man.
Christ, I'm
Encouraging anybody to get their stuff together in any way, shape, or form is definitely that was a good idea to bring up. I
yeah.
definitely think that's good for people in general, who maybe not even aren't in the same position as you, or ADHD or something. Maybe any type of mental symptom like that might cause them to just have a
Mhm.
disorganized life. Like it just in general is really good. I write stuff down that like I know I have to do like when I get home because so there's something about the transition from a working mentality to a cool off that like I start to forget like the things that I need to do or just writing down like names. Like I can literally I don't have it in my vicinity, but I can show you what I'm talking about. Um, for those that are watching the video, maybe you can draw some form of inspiration from this because this is what works for me. That might not work for everybody. So you doing it in the way that you're doing it is definitely cool for like information technology. Like we don't have to write things if we don't want to. But I basically carry one of these moleskins around. It's just
Mhm.
I think 5 by 3.5 moleskins, and I even have the leather thing. I don't use it currently, but I was. And so you slide it in there, and literally it gives you slots for your card. So I carried a debit card, my ID, and like a tertiary option, and then you can tuck
Mhm.
cash in there. But like this was usually in my back pocket, so it's already on me. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I need to remember to do X, and I just real quick write it in. And so like it helps a lot. You definitely you're more productive. Not that being hyper productive is a necessity in life, but like if you just feel like you're always getting behind on your to-do list, like stuff like that can go a long way in like personal development.
Well, for me, it's more than just having a running to do list. Because I have it set up so like I have essentially a database is how Notion works for a lot of these things. I have a database called the Void. Inside the Void is everything I'm doing. I've got the last interview I did. I have our entire podcast for Reroll, my other podcast, things I want to do for YouTube, things I'm writing, my finances, um, other like things I want to read or working on, things like that. And I can give them tags and due dates and more notes to it on a simple view, or I can get more in depth and embed more pages and database inside those pages. So like for reroll for a D&D podcast, it's an entry in the database, but inside that I have another database of all the people, the places, and
Yeah.
things in the
Okay.
world.
So it's an even better
Also
version of
have
what I have. I just have I
yeah
got the
because you
vanilla
can you can
version. Jeff's like, I got my whole
yeah
life and productivity here, son.
yeah, I've got like all the campaign chapters, the overall plot of the world, any
Mm-hmm.
world building I'm doing. Like it's just so much more in depth and robust
If you're very
than
engaged in
carrying around a
the
notebook.
online stuff or just that kind of world, I guess that might be better. I think it would be cool for me to like maintain in categories like what I'm currently involved in. And it seems really silly to say that, but someone like me that's involved in so many things right now, from sailing to Dark Souls to building PCs with my friend to this, that, and the other. Sometimes you kind of like forget, like, oh yeah, I was supposed to finish that computer or stuff like that. Unless it like you trip over
Yeah.
it because it's sitting behind your desk, you're just not going to get it done.
That's why I have Notion set up that way, so I can always see what I'm working on today versus at a glance
Mm-hmm.
versus everything.
Yeah,
That's why I like Notion a lot.
that's super cool. I like that. That's a very good. If you want to consider that a PSA, I didn't really know what to expect out of your thing, but I really
Sure.
like that topic. That was cool.
That's my non-sponsored TED Talk about Notion. Go use it.
Yeah, cool. All right, so the last question on the outro is, where are you on Bitcoin?
every time you start posting Bitcoin memes in our Discord, I'm always like, fuck, I need to go back and go find my Coinbase login and like go put like $20 down and see what happens. And every time I get closer and closer to doing it. So one of these days I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go in the hole, and I'm going to blame you.
I wholly
I'm going to be
recommend you do that after we end this call. Now, actually, but more importantly, why do you need your old Coinbase account? Do you have any current anything in your portfolio, or is it just, oh, I already have my bank set up?
I think I have some Ethereum in there.
Okay, that's good.
Like a small amount of Ethereum.
Define small, bro, because Ethereum when you probably bought it versus Ethereum now is insanely different.
Probably super small fractional.
So like
I'm
16%
pretty
or
sure.
something very small.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I bought Ethereum to translate that into 2 other cryptocurrencies that I was really invested in, which I also don't have the keys to those wallets for anymore.
What were those two? You don't recall?
Ripple and I forgot the Centaurus.
Okay, buddy. Ripple. If I actually let me check that real quick because Ripple versus when Ripple was becoming notorious versus Ripple now might not actually be very crazy for you. So yeah, it's actually.
I don't think it is. Last time I looked,
I think its peak was 56, if I remember correctly, in its lifetime.
Dollars or cents?
Cents. Nope, never mind. Sorry, Ripple went above $2, and then it maintained around like 50 to 70 cents. So I guess it depends on where you sit, but Ripple is not a moneymaker. I'm thinking of in terms of stuff that people might have forgot was around, and then it's 10x the value it used to be.
I got into Ripple because I liked the use case behind it and thought it was neat.
Mm-hmm. As did I.
Centaurus, I got in because I also thought it was neat in how they distribute money to each other.
Yes.
That's it.
So no, that's a very good
two.
idea though, or I guess a reasoning behind it, because sometimes people will side with, or the people that are smart, they'll just follow the money. And so if banks are interested in something that has the capabilities of crossing continents without having transaction fees, they're going to pick that up sooner than Dogecoin. So to go where the banks or where the smart people are going is like a really good strategy. So I was like early on into Ripple and Stellar. I eventually got out of them, but because XRP is like totally a meme coin now. I imagine you like don't know anything about it.
That's Ripple. XRP.
Yeah. Like it's trash now. I was thinking Stellar when you said XRP for some reason. So, but regardless, XRP.
That is the same thing, isn't it?
No, they're different. So the Stellar and XRP, I guess, have the same goal in mind, but XRP was kind of the front runner, and so XRP has always been kind of considered a shit coin, like because XLM is Stellar.
I think I have both.
Okay, so check on them because XLM will actually be.
I'd have to find out.
XLM will be in a lot better. That is Stellar, right? Yep, it's right there. Yes, Stellar is in a way better position because once XRP went through those litigations and like all the lawsuit that they're going through, like literally it went from 13 all the way up to 30, which is nothing. But when you're holding mass quantities of dollars in it, like that's a 300% increase. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
I think I had at the time I had about $100 in it.
So you have $300 now, if it was low. But yeah, I mean not wealth changing.
I'd have to find the keys. Yeah, nothing life changing. I don't think. At least I hope not.
Yeah. So XRP is considered a shit coin because it's manipulated and like they own a large portion of the shares. And I don't know the whole topic to like, dip into it, but yeah, it's basically stay away from XRP. And then after XRP, after XRP dropped, I'm thinking of the meme. It's that like frail looking black dude where he's like doing the look at me thing. And he's like, I'm the coin now or whatever. And so it pumped like 3x because it was the next in line to fill the shoes that the banks would potentially use this. So yeah, dude, I 100% vouch for Bitcoin. And I think as a PSA, and why I put this as an outro is because I want to consistently remind the people that need to actually know what this is going to be. The people that it can help the most are me and you, because the opportunities for us to be a part of this, the window is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the ability for it to solidify wealth of any degree for somebody at our level is like crazy. It's kind of like it's almost like I don't like entertaining that it's something that's going to get you rich quick. It's definitely not. But let's just say if it wasn't a meme like Bitcoin wasn't a meme like, oh, it's just that digital currency that nobody knows is going to happen to it. Imagine if the government came out literally and was like, hey, our dollar hasn't been backed by anything in a long time, and I think we're going to tie it to oil. So your entire economy is going to be based on the value of an asset. So you're like, wow, like if I own oil, and that's kind of like controversial, like to say that. Let me just think of something that's literally a meme. Like if I said that, if I said, I'm trying to think of something that anybody can do, not like something silly. If tomorrow somebody was like, hey, so we're gonna move your wealth to like how much land you own or something silly like that, and then all of a sudden people would go out and start buying all the land up from the governments, and then like you were basically, if you couldn't own your own land, you were poor, and you had to like live in like nasty conditions, like pretty much rented out land.
Hmm.
uh, they'd be like, oh, we're going to move to this, instead of basing what the wealth classes are on money. And you'd be like, oh, well, like maybe I should get in on land before like it all disappears because it's going to be valuable in the future and people are going to appreciate it. That's what Bitcoin is right now. And it has not hit the point where it's the cornerstone. I wanted to compare it to gold and oil because that would be easy, but in a large degree, both of those are already current. Like you could buy gold or you could buy oil as a commodity, and they have backing and they have insane value. They are not already widely accepted. So that's why I'm like an advocate for it. The people that really need to get into it aren't the people that are rich. They're the people that like don't really have any sizable measure of wealth. Like our net worths are negligent compared to Fortune 500 people. But hey, if we get into Bitcoin early, we'll be in the conversation. We won't just be the people at the bottom like looking
Right.
up. That's why like I encourage people to buy even just small amounts because there is a finite amount of Bitcoin in this world.
I think my biggest issue with Bitcoin is if you think that Bitcoin is going to replace the US dollar, you are wrong.
No, and nobody is actually pushing for that. And if anybody tells you that, they don't know
So
anything about Bitcoin.
in the earlier years, that was the push, which is why I was so skeptical about it, because it's not going to work. Obviously, it's
Well,
not worked
it,
so
it
far.
can work, and I'll tell you exactly why it could work now. But it is definitely not the perfect use case for it because there are things
Right,
that are there are other coins that are better coded to do the job more efficiently than Bitcoin. But I will, however, tell you
right.
how it will replace the US dollar and contradict that point after you maybe close in on whatever thought you were thinking.
um, I think that it's great that merchants are starting to accept Bitcoin as payments and whatnot. But at the very end of the day, there's no way that Bitcoin will replace any sort of regular currency. I think it can work alongside
Tell me
currency,
why.
but it's not the next
Just
new
because I need to be
currency.
able to dissect it for you. Tell me why you don't think it'll be able
It's
to actually be the currency. Like right now, if you're like, Jeff, I need
the
money for the podcast, cool, here's Bitcoin. Or gas.
the the finite amount of Bitcoin is the reason why. Just like how
False.
we don't trade gold around. Sure.
Okay, but go on. I'll break it down.
I'm also, I'd like to say I'm also not super educated in all of
But
this.
I'm here to
So
educate you. That's all.
take my words with a grain of
Yes.
salt. This is my uninformed, uneducated
Yeah, I
opinion.
shouldn't have said anything
It's
yet. Go
also
for it.
the barrier of entry. Barrier of entry for you and me is not that difficult. We can go download Coinbase, we can buy some Bitcoin, cool, we're
Mm-hmm.
here. But trying to explain that to the general population is extremely difficult, and trying to have any sort of large scale use of a digital currency is not going to work anytime
Yes.
soon. Look how long it took from us getting RFID chips in our credit cards to having it widely adopted all across the United States because of coronavirus.
Sure.
Most people have had the ability to have RFID tap to pay stuff on their phones or on their credit cards for years now, at least
Mm-hmm.
4 to 5 years.
Definitely took a little while.
Almost no merchants use that because they don't want to invest in the infrastructure to make it easier for their customers to pay versus swiping your card and putting your PIN in.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And trying to bring everyone on board into like, all right, cool, instead of doing this, we're going to use this instead. People aren't going to really wrap their heads around it. It's going to take such a long time. Now, maybe in the next 50 or so years, we can make a digital currency that works, but I don't think Bitcoin's going to be it.
Okay. Was that your closing point?
Yeah, that's
Okay, so I'm
point.
gonna
Please
address these.
shoot me to shreds.
I'm going to address these because I want to educate the people that are concerned, like you, on why these may not actually be the way you feel about them, like why they may actually. So, for example, the finite does actually has nothing to do with the ability to transact it. Okay, it being finite actually supports it as being a transactable hard money. because there are use cases out there of money where people had atypical currencies. Two of the examples that I've read in a book by Saifedean Amos on the Bitcoin standard. One is a society that traded large rocks as like a general currency. Like if you owned, the larger the rock was, the bigger the wealth was. It
Yeah,
wasn't like
sure. And
dollars, but
I've seen it
they
before.
considered that like, oh, you're wealthy because you had a larger rock. Now it was generally large transactions, so it wasn't divisible, but they considered it wealth. Another one that got ruined because somebody found out how to manufacture them and they diluted the stock to flow ratio. Another example
Sure.
was a native country in I think South Africa or Western Africa that their native currency or form of like wealth for goods was like this certain local beads. I forget the details. And they thought they were rare because they were not, they had a very, very low stock to flow. People couldn't find them or create them like gold. But some people from Europe came down and found out that they were trading, goods and services for these beads. So they come down with these beads and then all of a sudden, boom, they inflate it. So if you have something that is finite, you do not run the risk of ruining a transactable currency, being cash. Right now, people are either unaware of or don't understand the gravity of the situation of what $2 trillion of stimulus does by going into our dollar. You are literally deflating the buying power. Anybody who understands general economics will be like, this is not good. Like, we're going to pay for it in one way or another, whether bread becomes $8 or it becomes useless. Look at use cases like Venezuela, where they're literally inflating their dollar to uselessness, where you can find trash bins full of it. So finite creates an opportunity where you literally cannot introduce more to ruin a currency. If me and you were trading with rocks and then someone else just goes and digs up rocks, they're like, cool, well, I have more rocks than you now. Do you see how that's actually
Sure.
contrary? Like, you to have finite
Yeah.
helps. Now, the
I get that.
finite thing that I push is that because it is finite, if all these wealthy people, 471 millionaires in the world, largely in America and Europe, there is 21 million Bitcoin that could ever exist. If every one of those millionaires decided they wanted one Bitcoin, it would all be gone instantly. And then me and you, the people that don't have large sums of wealth, would never have access to the next greatest asset in the world. This is why I push people to own even just a modicum amount of it. So that addresses finite. The barrier of entry was a concern for a long time, for at least the last 4 years. Like, when it first boomed, it was definitely very narrow trying to get into it and to understand it. However, one of the reasons why Bitcoin is pumping, and I predicted it, not that like I've ever been like cool, like I know I predict this is going to happen in politics or this is going to happen, but once I saw the news, I was like, here's the pump, and I started buying more because PayPal openly accepted and admitted that they were going to start transacting cryptocurrencies on PayPal, and PayPal is responsible for a large number of internet transactions because it's
Sure.
just such a
Yeah.
streamline. You don't always have to put your card information in. It's safer, and you can just check with PayPal. Check with PayPal. I can pull up
Yeah.
12 sites right now and check out with PayPal. Not everybody does it, but you can. And that and Cash App both support Bitcoin. And so as soon as PayPal, which has like a 360 million users or something, active users, I was like 360 million people can now opt in to buy Bitcoin. If you tell 360 million people that right now that they could buy a little bit of gold, which nobody knows how to do, like, do you know how to go and buy gold, like hard gold right now?
eBay.
eBay? Okay. Well, you're the
I mean,
outlier. You go ask your mother, go ask your brother. They'd be like, I know what gold is, but like, how do I buy it? Would I go to the gold exchange place? Suddenly, if you introduce something people are already using, like if you go to your ATM and it says, do you want to pull out Bitcoin or do you want to pull out cash? They boom, cost of entry.
yeah.
There is definitely going to be a problem with uh, innovating people to do that aren't technologically advanced. Like a guy I work with, he still has a flip phone. Is he going to have PayPal on his phone? No. I mean, he's 54, he's older, but the oncoming generation in the next 20 years, it's going to happen. I mean, even sooner, 10 years. Like me and you and younger, we're all online. Credit cards took a while to come, RFIDs, you're not wrong. But the barrier of entry has definitely gotten way easier. Coinbase is the most popular and very easy to get started on. I just did it for my dad a month ago. And both PayPal and Cash App are just very common and very easy to sign up for.
Yeah.
So, any rebuttal to the entry?
Like I said, I'm not informed enough to form much of an opinion aside from
It's
that.
okay.
So
We're not really creating an argument here. I just wanted to take, for
Yeah.
example, you're the average person that isn't invested in Bitcoin really, or you were, but now you see things you don't like about it. And I'm going to keep running into people that have this. So every time I run into someone like you on here that has concerns, I want to address them because I am generally doing a public service announcement. Like this is pivoted to be the gold 2.0. And so you did say that it'll be hard to interact with, for example, like going to vendors and buying Bitcoin. So my counter to that is definitely a little bit more on the extremist side, but any catalyst can propel innovation, and that is just historically, fact.
Sure.
As soon as there's a catalyst, people will adapt. So my quick example, and I go back to Venezuela. You can actually even go do some homework you want yourself. Since I have homework, go and look into Venezuela and their use case on Bitcoin because they had an inflation problem to where money has been literally useless. And so they immediately pivoted to paying their healthcare workers with Bitcoin so that they had a tangible asset that had wealth because their money was going up. I remember hearing or reading about, it was, don't quote me on this. I don't know if it was 100 or 300. I think it was 100. It was 100% every day. Every day you woke up, what you owned was immediately cut in half. So imagine you got paid on
Mhm.
Friday and it was $400. Might as well have 200 the next day. Sunday, might as well have 100. And it gets so bad that they can't. It's not worth anything. You're doing trash bags just for groceries. So that is an example
Right.
of a catalyst that propels adoption. And I've already prefaced this by saying that the amount of money that they're putting into the economy, the helicopter money, it's bound to have repercussions. So that catalyst could literally be that the world goes off the dollar standard because we think that we're allowed to just introduce something of value without having any consequences, and then suddenly other countries are like, yeah, we're not taking your dollars anymore, and it's not backing the oil anymore, and then it just starts going down. This is a very real
Sure.
threat. So I covered all
I don't
of
know.
the stuff that
I'm not an economist, so all I can do is share my uninformed
that's
opinion.
fine. And I'm just trying to help people understand. A big
Yeah.
problem with not understanding Bitcoin and how it helps us is the fact that a lot of people don't actually understand how finances work. They don't technically, you don't get taught this. Something that like they don't put in schools unless you go for accounting or you're an economist. You don't understand what
Right.
hard money is, what makes something of value, what makes tender, the dollars, what backs that and how it works. People don't understand. Like they know, oh, what inflation? Like we get inflation every year, but like how bad is inflation? Like people don't really understand what makes hard
Mhm.
money. And I explained this in the last episode, and some of it in varying degrees. But there's 5 features of what makes hard money. It's divisibility, scarcity, um, your ease of movement. I always forget the other two, but there's things that make it. In gold, Bitcoin has essentially nearly perfected all 5 of them. So it's poised to be gold 2.0, Jeff, not necessarily the transactable currency. So in 10 years down the road, if I was to predict what Bitcoin's going to do for us, it's going to be our banking account. So if you deposit money in your savings, it will be Bitcoin. And then if you want to pay for something from each other, it'll be, I'll pick any of them, XLM. How much XLM for a burger? 72. Boom, instant transaction.
Mhm.
There are better platforms out there with faster transaction rates than Bitcoin. So I don't necessarily think that it could be the one that we buy gas with or groceries. It can be, but I don't think it'll be the choice one. It'll be like us going and, I don't know, maybe paying for your groceries with stocks. Like, could you do it? Sure. But it's like, that's kind of weird. Does that make
Yeah, it's
sense?
weird.
You know.
Mhm.
So, any other questions about Bitcoin before we wrap this up?
I think I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the part where you can do the shameless plug and tell people where to find you.
I have a website. It's jeffnabors.best. That has all my links to all my things. I'm on Twitter @_RKDNC. And you can find the podcast that me and Cayce make, Real World Expectations, on any podcatcher that you listen to. And starting in February, I'm going to be launching my second podcast, which is Chasing Experience or Chasing XP, where I am interviewing folks from the game development and game design world in the industry and talking to them about their experiences in that industry. Our first episode is going to be with David Crane, who is the guy that made the pretty well known indie game called Pitfall for the Atari 2600, which
Ooh.
like everyone knows
Yeah.
what that is. He also is the co-founder for a little tiny game company called Activision, if in case you know who they are.
Tiny.
Super cool guy to talk to. Yeah, a little tiny company. And that's going to launch in the first week of February. But that's all the plugs I have. Also, twitch.tv/RKDNC. I stream twice a week where I talk about stupid shit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That's it. That's
He's
my
a good
plug.
streamer. He's very entertaining. If you want to add him to your list.
That's me tooting my own horn.
That's about all I have. So we can wrap this up, Jeff.
Awesome.
Toodles, internet.
See ya.